토끼 나는 머리 한번 풀고 네 여자친구 뺐지 자꾸 내 생각이 나는데 네 옆에 있을 때 제일 Tigers on my feet, I gang smoothie designer moody I'm on the bougie 네가 뭐 미치지 않은 이상 네 인생이 궁금할 리가 없지 Let's see baby 나는 서울 달려 토끼 도쿄 와서 왔으니까 I'm moving low fantasy I'm offline flying with that bass looking at the cat chase my money bitch face and my money made face hey like bright there's a model vision bright with the girl see me gone 아침에 눈 뜨면 난 거기 없어 친구들 돈을 벌고 우리는 망할 리 없어 straight up money make us 미치가요 우리는 없어 I get money where the I come from I get money where the money come from I get money where the game come from I get money I get money I get money where the I come from I get money where the money come from I get money where the game come from I get money I told you I had a game on me all this time now fuck up and listen to
지금 태어났어도 장 먹고 고간지 욕하는 애들은 계속 나를 욕하지 상대해줄게는 반대편 like 오락실 친구 없잖아 you welcome 고맙긴 보여주고 있지만 인정을 못하지 보여줄 건 넘쳐나서 매일 골랐지 난 이미 담담 레벨 안에 속하지 방 안에서 제발 나 너만 몰랐지 좌우로 저된 고개 거기에는 저는 설득력이 없네 아직도 몰라 난 이율 20곡에 나랑 마주치면 어쩌려고 그래 yeah 소비가 30대가 됐을 때는 레디처럼 살고 싶대 oh be like me 나는 돈 먼지 파묻혀서 늙어갈 거야 oh be like me I gang poppin' my tech 간지는 내 이름 사이에 쓰는 닉네임 I gang 내 처음이 fat ass 먼저 실어 날라 motherfucking FedEx I gang poppin' my tech 입금이 될 때만 따라 난 해시태그 I gang 내 처음이 fat ass 먼저 실어 날라 motherfucking FedEx
I get money where the I come from I get money where the money come from I get money where the game come from I get money I get money where the I come from I get money where the money come from I get money where the game come from I get money 나는 칼을 숨긴 채 택시를 탔었고 몇 차례 신호를 못 본 채로 차는 달렸고 기사 아저씨 여긴 빠른 지름길인가요 나는 알리바이 없는 여고생이었어 Shawty better run 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 Shawty gotta run faster than your friends You better run 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 오늘은 붉은 불빛 아래 뒹굴고 무서운 건 나 하나밖에 없어서 천사는 내가 싫어하는 뒷번호 신발이 나를 신고 나를 갖고 도망쳐 꿈속에서는 수백 번 동안 성공과 미래를 저질러버리고 행복했어 난 행복해 정말 온종일 자빠져 웃고 있는 걸 With my cigarette breath I ride till the day ends Misery can handle all these blades I've been hooked on the love miss Please don't assume with my cigarette breath I've been riding with these blades Shawty better run 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 Shawty gotta run faster than your friends You better run 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 렌즈가 결국 과거에 빛이 나니까 나는 지겠지 이상 나는 익숙하니까 조금 미안하지만 난 미안하니까 이건 지겨운 피약 조금 멍청하지만 그 목걸이 새겨와도 금 트로피면 난 그냥 충분하니까 아마 괜찮을 거야 다가 아니라지만 내게 전부다니까 If it's worth it, I'ma get it If it's pending, I don't feel it Bitch depending on me silly I don't feed nobody but me Took it like I paid it Floated like a raven City looking wild but I send it with a saving Cause it grow wild Take your time and chase me 난 죽어내 몸과 벌어 얼음은 차가운 난 전부 섞어 다 넘쳐도 그냥 밟아도 쓰레기처럼 그냥 흘리면서 벌어 니들의 gay lifestyle take it 아니 축하하지만 난 못해 Gang saying everyday translate in the bottom 하나 물어 평생 이겨도 없고 나는 지인데도 안 불어 네 추억 왜네걸 내 앞에서 물어 사랑이 안 되면 마음에서 묻어 뭘 그리 바라고 넌 뭘 그리 말이 많아 내게 하나 줄 생각이 없어 What you gon' Shawty gotta run fast, run faster than your friends. You better run. With my cigarette breath, I ride till the day ends. Misery can't handle all these plays. I've been hooked on the litmus. Please don't assume. With my cigarette breath, I've been riding with these flames. Shawty better run. Shawty gotta run fast, run faster than your friends. You better run. Don't even get me started. I've been growing up to blow your mind. You think they hear me out? I got some timbers in me. Filthy, gotta get them tamed down when my homies fail me. Mama, Sita, Mama, Lisa, Mama Lisa, Mama Lisa, Mama, Sita, Mama 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 Lisa, Mama Lisa, Mama Lisa. Ring on my force hands, fourth finger with the Genova's force fail. Still with the visions, can no chill. 비극은 나와 부딪히 지쳐서 현실을 직시했더니 미친 성공의 빙의 좀 귀신 잡신 매일원 같이 같이의 이익 없는 새끼들에게는 비법은 비밀 두루두루 못 주네 Killer 트랙 위에 날 부르면 anyway Get it all the way 이제 내 터지는 밴드처럼 문다숙게 매일매일 지겨워 대체 새끼들은 언제쯤 회개 미쳤다고 날 보고 말해라 말해 해치 주위 온내 어디가 가게 필요 없어 표시 같은 너희 자꾸 대서 pull up on your bando Pick up and shoot you for ransom Two letters crossed on the logo 어차피 꼬인 게 좋고 한 와도 video 너도 포포 너희 장난이라도 내 친구들은 쓰겨 구게 무서운 꼴 나기 싫음 내게 다시 토해 공장에서 치고 나온 너네 그냥 표매 Mama, Sita, Mama Lisa, Mama Lisa, Mama Lisa, 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 Mama, Sita, Mama Lisa, Mama Lisa, Mama Lisa. She taught me this way, mama. 그냥 가다 파가 안 되면 되게 하라. Fit 대신 underground. 파란만장 나의 삶 다 밀어버려 반삭방에 앉으면 살살 찔 것 같은.
Oh my god, there's a nerd in chat. Ew. What a nerd. Oh my goodness. Hello. I'm gonna just turn the music off. Is it working? How's the sound? How is everything? I haven't streamed in like 2 fucking weeks, so if everything's broken, I don't know anymore. Hello. That was quite the long. That starting soon screen was like 10 minutes. Cause I was waiting for you to show up because I knew you didn't want to miss anything. Hi, I missed streaming. I'm like nervous. I'm excited, but I'm nervous. Mostly because I'm nervous that people will think this is fucking stupid, which it is, but I'm like nervous. And then also, I'm just nervous because I got so fucking invested in this dumb shit, and someone's gonna be like, damn, you did the most. And I did. but I don't need anyone to tell me that. It's good. You can't say it's good. You don't know if it's good yet. You haven't seen shit. Also, this is, oh, that's fizzy. I've never tried this type before, and it's probably gonna, it doesn't taste as bad as I thought it would. Okay, we got the energy drink. Okay, listen. Oh, what flavor is it? It's, does it say? Oh, it's watermelon, but it's like the zero sugar kind, and whenever there's zero sugar and stuff, it just tastes even more like battery acid, or that's how I feel like. Yeah. First time I've worn makeup in 2 weeks. Got a haircut too. It's kind of wildin' today. I kind of look like a mix between a Karen and the mom from The Incredibles. So I don't know how I feel about it, but you know, we're vibing. It's fine. It looks cooler not on camera. I like it a lot better not on camera. But it's a lot shorter, and now I can't put it in a ponytail, so I'm still deciding if I like it or not. It's good though, thank you, but you also have to say that because you're my friend. Anything you say isn't valid. Okay, also, before I start, no one's allowed to bully me for the PowerPoint. No one is allowed to bully me for the PowerPoint because I started making it 2 hours ago because I was like, damn, I have a lot of talking to do. Visual aids would probably help. And so I just made a really shitty PowerPoint. And I know it's really shitty, so none of you are allowed to say that. No one's allowed to call out how shitty the PowerPoint is, okay? If you do, I'm gonna time you out. That's it. Also, I think I just want to say, first of all, I watched the show, but I wasn't obsessed with the show. I wasn't, like, in the communities talking to other people. How could I enjoy this? There's no animations. Well. What? Wait, no, there's one somewhere. Look, there's a GIF. Where's the GIF? There's a GIF. See, it's animated. You're fine. The list tied you over. that was a teaser. But yeah, okay. No one's allowed to bully me for the PowerPoint I started making it 2 hours ago. Also, I'm not as invested in this show as a lot of people are, which you won't believe me once I start talking because this is like 20,000 words, my script. But there are things that are going to be wrong. I just got really invested when I saw the final lineup, and I really need to talk about it, okay? So, I wanted to try something new. I really like streaming. I like playing games, and obviously I'm still gonna do that, but I just have lots of stuff that I want to talk about, or I have theories about, or like I get hyper fixated on and know too much about, and I want to talk about them because I never shut up. So I think I've decided, I was talking to a few people before I did this, or before I decided to do this to see if it was like a good idea, but I wanted to do like lives that are kind of like video essays. Like, you know, YouTube video essays, but like live on Twitch, so I can talk more and there's a chat there, and so it's more like a conversation. Literally, this is just an outlet for me to talk for like 3 hours straight about the same thing. And you all have to watch it. I've written, like, are you gonna upload this to YouTube? I think so. I think I'm gonna like edit it down and like upload it to my YouTube. I haven't decided yet. Maybe. I'm definitely gonna upload the VOD because I upload all my VODs because I save them. But yeah, also, I've written notes and done research on this too. Like, I think this is the first time I've like prepared for a stream before, which is stupid. I feel like I'm performing an essay in class. Like, I feel like I'm in English class reading off my final essay. But anyway, I don't know. My hyperfixations just means that like there's so many niche topics I know so much about, and I just want to talk about it, and I just think this would be a cool avenue for this. And yeah, maybe I can put it on YouTube for content. But yeah, no, I don't know. We'll see how this goes. I'll try my best. Yeah, I like I said, I have notes too, so if I'm looking off camera, it's because I'm trying to stay on track and be professional. But today, all that out of the way, all the disclaimers out of the way, I want to talk about Girls Planet 999, the absolute fucking mess that show was, the shady shit around it, and why I think it was fucking rigged. Or at the very least, heavily manipulated. But, like, something fishy went on. Ever since I saw the final rankings of like the top 9, which you could see them there, ever since I saw who made it into the top 9, I have not been able to stop thinking about it. I need to talk about it or I'm gonna go crazy. If anyone follows like my spam private Twitter, I made like a 40 tweet thread about this when it happened. Cause like I just kept finding things and losing my mind about it. Anyway, I'm gonna preface this all by saying that this is alleged. I'm not accusing anyone of anything seriously. This is just fun internet stuff. It's stupid, harmless internet stuff centered around a piece of media that I consumed and I want to talk about, so don't take it too seriously or take my word as gospel or anything. This is all just fun and stupid. Like, just pretend like this is some sort of spooky headcanon about a conspiracy theory about a TV or something, because it is. It's just, like, about a reality show and not Teen Wolf, okay? Same vibe, it's just a bunch of headcanons, okay? Nothing's real, nothing's canon, allegedly, okay? And there's gonna be stuff I got wrong, there's gonna be stuff I missed. I looked into a lot, but I don't know anything. I hardly know everything. So it's even more reason to literally not listen to a single thing I say. Okay? This is just stupid. Anyway. Yeah, no, before I start talking about Girls Planet specifically though, because there's like a lot of videos that talk about Girls Planet and I could just be like, it's rigged and that be all of it, but like there's a lot of background and context that add to why this was so sus. So I want to give some background and context to set the stage. I know, like, BB specifically in chat keeps up with, like, K-pop and all of this and what I'm talking about, but not everyone does, and I think it's fun to have a refresher even for BB. I don't know, I wanted this to be, like, you know when your friend is really excited about something and just is talking, and you don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but you're just really excited for them, so you're just, like, nodding and listening? That's what I want this to be. You don't have to know or care about what I talk about, just, like, enjoy the vibes. But yeah, so I'm going to start, and I'm going to talk about the Produce series and the voting fraud scandal that centered around that. And then I'm going to give a little bit more background about, like, foreign idols and K-pop, Chinese idols and K-pop specifically, and then we'll get into the meat of it, which is Girls Planet 999, and the sus shit that happened around that, okay? Next slide! In 2019, there was a big scandal involving electoral fraud in several reality competition series made by Mnet. There have since been 10 arrests. So, basically, the Produce series is a set of survival shows that feature like 100-ish contestants each time. They do performances and are voted on by fans to make it into the final K-pop group. So, like, IOI, 101, IZ*ONE, I think is how you say that group. I don't know. I've never said that one aloud. I've just read it. But so basically they audition at the start, are given grades from the teachers, judges, based on their skill, and then there's a bunch of performance stages, and then every week for the show, like, week for the broadcasting, not week for the people, because, like, there's some, I don't know, filming is weird, but every week, people vote for them, and then the highest voted trainees make it into the final group. So this one down here is Idol School, this one up here is Produce X 101, and this is the first one, Produce 101. And as you can see, there is an incredible amount of people in each one. Now this, I have this up here just to follow along. I'm going to talk about all this more in detail, but just so, like, you have, like, a general timeline you can, like, look back to, that's what this is for. But so basically there was four seasons of the Produce series. There's Produce 101, which was all girls, Produce 101 Season 2, which was all guys, Produce 48, which was all girls again, and this time it was a collaboration between Mnet and AKB48, so half of them, give or take, were all Japanese and from AKB48 or one of its, like, smaller subsidiary groups like HKT48, and that's the only one I can remember, but, you know, and then Produce X 101 was the last one, and it was another boy group one, but that one was the most recent. That one was in 2019. And so during the live finale of Produce X 101, viewers noticed some of the final rankings were all multiples of 7,494 and got sus. Which, you know, that's such a specific number for things to all be a multiple of. I wouldn't think to see if all, like, how the fuck do you notice that? I'm glad they did, because everything came out because of that, but how the fuck do you notice that a bunch of ranks are multiples, like exact multiples of 7,494 exactly. Like, anyway, yeah, so they brought it up with Mnet. Mnet said there were calculation errors, but insisted that the ranks were right and didn't change X1, which is the final group's final lineup. So they were like, hey, yeah, we counted a little wrong, but it's fine. We're not gonna change anything. The lineup is right. They fucking lied. A lawsuit was filed by 272 viewers for electoral fraud, as their on-site text voting service charged about $1, 100 won per vote. So basically, they're texting in to vote, but they had to pay $1 every time they voted, which I don't think is allowed. So later, police issued a search warrant on CJ E&M offices, and they're like the big company that owns Mnet. They're like, they own everything. Hold on, I need to adjust something here. You didn't see that. Anyway, they own everything. They're like Korea's fucking Disney. They own everything. CJ&M owns fucking everything. But, so police issued a search warrant on their offices and found voice recordings of staff discussing vote manipulation on the previous seasons of the show. Produce X101 and Idol School were the biggest perpetrators, but Produce 101, Produce 101 Season 2, and Produce 48 were absolutely tampered with too. So in October 2019, police confirmed that the votes from eliminated trainees were added to votes of members who ended up being finalists, affecting 2 to 3 trainees in the top 11. So they took the votes from people who were eliminated and added them to the people that they liked, so those people would get more votes and end up in the top 11. Later, NBC, which is like a rival company, a rival broadcaster to Mnet, broadcasted a feature on the controversy, and anonymous officials alleged that production teams were biased towards trainees they preferred, such as forcing song producers on the shows to give those trainees more lines and more screen time, so that they just got seen more by audiences. One Produce X101 contestant alleged that his screen time was completely removed after raising a complaint against a staff member. Also, a trainee from Woolim was told by a representative that only one person from their company would debut. Each season had a theme song, so like at the start to introduce the public to all the trainees, and like, I don't know, it's like a theme song, it's just like a big theme song, and then all of the trainees, like all 100 of them, do a special performance all together. The entire cast performs it, and there was a trainee, and there's always a trainee in the very front that's a center, and so they're the most important, basically, because when that teaser is being filmed, they're front and center, they're the one, Kiwi Frizzle, thank you so much for the follow. Yeah, so they're front and center, so people are gonna see them more. So trainees said for these theme songs that centers were originally picked by trainee votes, so they all chose within themselves who would be the center, but then it was changed to audience vote for the last second. So the producers were basically, nah, not this person anymore, we're gonna put someone else in the center. Hi Kiwi Frizzle, how are you? Thank you for stopping by. It's nice seeing you. Where was I? Oh, yeah, so for Idol School, an Idol School trainee alleged that only 3 out of 4 of the 4,000 applicants had actually auditioned, including most contestants that didn't have to audition to compete. I have so many questions already. Well, we'll get through this part and we'll see if those questions are answered. Sorry for scaring you. Oh my gosh, don't worry about it. That was my... my alerts are way too loud. But hi, friend. Welcome on in. Yeah, so only like 4 out of 4,000 applicants actually had to do an audition. The rest of them were just picked by production, basically, for Idol School. For Idol School specifically, I think for all the Produce ones, there were actual auditions. But Idol School, while it is not part of the Produce series, it is still run by Mnet, and it's basically the same format, where it's a bunch of trainees, they're all competing, and they're competing to be in a final group that promotes. 1 second, I'm gonna drink. I've been talking too much already, my mouth is dry. Okay, Idol School trainees were only given summer clothes for their training period, so basically these shows, they get picked for the show, there's like a few month training period, and then the show starts. So, yeah, were only given summer clothes for the training period that spanned over the cold weather. It went over the winter. So they were in fucking shorts and t-shirts in the middle of January. They are cut off from all outside communication and only allowed to buy daily necessities once a month at the local convenience store. They were not given enough food to eat. Several girls claimed that their living quarters had poor ventilation, and some girls developed rashes from dust. Some said they had been so malnourished that they did not menstruate, or some had periods lasting for longer than 2 months. Sam, thank you for the hydrate. I need it. So that's idol school. Sus shit. Back to Produce 101, Shiori Niwa from season 1, she finished 77th place, alleged that she noticed some of the trainees already knew the lyrics and choreography to Pick Me, which is the theme song, by the time she'd heard it, implying that some trainees were giving the material to practice ahead of time. Sus shit indeed, that's what I'm saying! We haven't even started yet, and it's already so sus. That's what I'm saying. I love you, I hope you're having a good day. Where was I? Okay, now we're going to Produce 101 Season 2, so the second Produce season. Some of those trainees talked to the media about discrimination of the trainees by grade ranking. So at the start when they audition, they're put into A, B, C, D grades based on how well they did. So there was discrimination by the staff of the trainees by grade ranking, reporting that they encountered level-determined permission to go to the bathroom and were all served different meals. In November, police issued... Okay, so that's, like, just all the mistreatment out of the way, but before I move on to the next part, I do want to say that, like, a lot of these trainees on these shows were underage. They were children, and they were in custody of these producers. Like, they were in these dorms, they were practicing, their guardians were these producers, and they were being discriminated against, they were being underfed, they weren't being given proper necessities, like, they were being mistreated incredibly. So now we're past, like, so there was the scandal, and then all this stuff started coming out after the NBC broadcast. People started leaking stuff and talking about stuff. And so in November of 2019, police issued a warrant for director An Jun-young and producers Kim Young-boom and one who's just named Lee. They all worked on the Produce series. And Starship Entertainment's vice president, Kim Kang-hyo. Starship Entertainment had been heavily favored in all iterations of Produce. They all allegedly attempted to destroy evidence when they realized there were warrants out for their arrest. An Jun-young and Kim Young-bum were... Young-bum, sorry, fucking me. An Jun-young and Kim Young-bum were arrested and An admitted to manipulating rankings for all 4 seasons of Produce. BB in chat says, if I remember correctly, Idol School could only go to a convenience store owned by CJ&M. CJE&M, rather. Super sus. Super sus. This stuff is so fucked up. And we're not even to what the main meat of this thing is. This is all still background. Okay, so 2 of the main producers of the Produce series got arrested. Police revealed that the top 20 trainees on Produce 48 and Produce X101 had been predetermined by producers before the final performances were even recorded and broadcast. 10 people were arrested on November 12th. I can't spell. It's okay, I understood what you meant. Officials from Starship Entertainment, Woollim Entertainment, 8D Creative, and Around Us Entertainment were all indicted for bribery. So these are all pretty, well, not all of them are really big entertainment agencies, but like a couple of them are really big. They're all entertainment agencies who set their trainees on the show. Starship was home to Yoo Young-jung from IOI on the first season, Jang Won-young and An Yoo-jin from Is One, which is the 3rd season, and Song Hyung-jun and Kang Min-hee from X1, which is the final season. You might know them. They have Uju Sunya or Cosmic Girls as one of their groups, and Monsta X. They're pretty big. But they had, 5 trainees on all 4 seasons make it to the finals. Woollim was home to Kwon Eun-bi and Kim Chae-won from Is One, which is the Produce 48 group, and Cha Jun-ho from X1. They have groups like Infinite and Lovelies, but Woollim was also the one, if you remember before, one of the Woollim trainees said that they were told by an official that only 1 out of their 2 trainees would make to the final group. So they already knew that 1 of their trainees would make it to the final group. 8D Creative was home to Kang Hae-won from Is One, Produce 48. They're the parent company of Only One Of's company, if you know who that is. And then Around Us Entertainment is the independent label made by Highlight, formerly Beast, after leaving Cube. No clue why they were involved in the bribery stuff. All 3 of their trainees on Produce X101 were eliminated in the first 2 rounds, but those 4 companies had officials that were all indicted for bribery. Interestingly enough, trainees from none of those companies were involved on Girls Planet 999, but whether that was intentional or coincident, who's to say? I think it was probably intentional. Yeah, Haewon. Yeah, I think from Iswan, Haewon, Eunbi, Chaewon, Wonyoung, and Yoojin's company all had people who were involved in bribery. In the indictment, it was revealed that An and Kim, who were the 2 producers that were the main bad guys in this, had met with another colleague 2 days before the live finale to determine the final 11 members of X1 based on pre-finale online votes. They wanted to exclude contestants they didn't like, and a similar meeting was held before the finale of Produce 48 too. All my favorites too, fuck. It's not their fault, it's their company's fault. You're allowed to like the girls. I'm gonna say that now, especially before we get to the Girls Planet stuff, because a lot of the ones that, like, are involved in this sort of shit, I really like them. They're nice girls. It's not their fault. It's Mnet producers, and it's the people who were indicted for bribery. I'm gonna swing at their company, it's valid. So on this one producer had also swapped rankings for one trainee who was supposed to debut in 101 in season 2. A trainee who was supposed to debut in IOI also had their rank swapped, so basically they were about to be eliminated, or like they were lower and another person was higher, and they just like took the numbers, swapped them, and assigned them to opposite people. And they just to favor the person they wanted to be in the final group. An had also swapped rankings for other contestants in earlier elimination rounds too, to make sure favored trainees weren't eliminated prematurely. This happened on Produce X101 twice, Produce 101 twice, and Produce 101 season 2 once. So people, when they talk about this scandal, I think most people just like see the headlines and know vaguely about it, and I think most people assume that the issues were specifically with Produce X101 and Produce 48 and Idol School, but this was happening in Produce 101, like the first season, this happened in the second season, like it happened the entire time. This was always an issue. An explained that they predetermined the lineups for IZ*ONE and X1 because they felt pressured by 101's success, which I would buy if they hadn't fucked with the rankings for the first 2 seasons, though. Like, you know? You can't say that you were pressured to do something because of season 2 if you were still doing it in season 2 and season 1, you know? Anyway. This An guy, though, he gets so much worse. An allegedly used his bribes for entertainment executives for adult entertainment establishments in Gangnam approximately 47 times. Homie got $40,000 worth of lap dances, paid for by 5 talent agencies in exchange for giving their trainees favorable screen time. Fucking, he went to strip clubs 47 times. I'm assuming strip clubs, probably something else too, but adult entertainment establishments is how the court put it. 40,000 American dollars worth. All bribes from entertainment executives for their trainees to get better treatment. Probably hostess bars, probably, but still, that's fucked up. Also, fucking, I don't know, Wonyoung could get more screen time. I don't know, not her specifically, it's not her fault, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, sus. Anyway, after the trial, An Junyoung, the strip club guy, was fined $31,000 and sentenced to 2 years in jail. Kim Young-bum, which was the other guy. Camera and audio a bit out of sync? Oh shit. Here, let me just like fuck with that a little bit. Are we back? Oh, one sec. Who's knocking? Hello? Hi, I'm live right now. Want to say hi? Oh, Daniel got a 100 Thieves jersey. You definitely want to come say hi.
Yeah. They're my favorite org.
Also, there's a cat. Hi, kitty.
Yeah.
Can we see the cat on camera? Still out of sync? Fuck. It might just be because I'm dropping frames, or maybe the internet's been weird today. It's been really slow today.
It's always been slow.
No, it's like worse today. Yes. BB says hi.
Hello, BB.
I'm doing a live video essay about a show that was rigged.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun. I'm doing a live torturing of Watson.
Someone call the police. He said that on live. Close the door, otherwise he's gonna tear down my posters.
Yeah.
Nice little break. We're just gonna have to deal with things being out of sync, I guess. Because I don't know how to fix it. Hold on, I got 2 messages. Oh, it's from BB. It doesn't matter. Yeah, that's not what I meant. It does matter, but it's just you saying what you said in chat. I love you. Okay, where was I? One was from you, and one was like a going live notice for someone. Okay, where were we? All right, okay. We were at sentencing. After the trial, An Jun-young, the first guy, was fined $31,000. I just converted everything to American dollars just so it's easier. So $31,000, and he was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Kim Young-bum was the other producer. He was sentenced to 20 months. Lee Min-kyung, which was the third producer who was just known as Lee before, he was fined about $9,000. 3 unnamed executives were fined $6,000, and 2 more were fined $4,000. So there was, let me count here, 3, 6, like 8 people who were sentenced and fined. Mnet, in response to all this, withdrew all 4 Produce 101 seasons from video-on-demand services. The contact operations manager announced that Mnet would... The contact operation manager, fuck me, I can't talk, announced that Mnet would no longer be producing audition programs. Which, you know, that was a fucking lie, but okay, that's what they said in, like, 2020. X1, which is the group from the final season, debuted, like, during all of this as it was happening, but they disbanded in January just because when it got really bad, they're like, we can't continue. Iswan's promotions were put on hold during the trial, but Iswan, all the trainees companies agreed to keep promoting through the end of their contract, so they kept going. They also had been active for a lot longer, like X1 had been active for like 2 months, whereas Iswan had been active for I think a year or 2, so people were a lot more attached. I think now I'm going to talk about more of like the individual trainees who got fucked over, because if people watch this back and, like, know of this, then you'll know who got fucked over, I guess, if, like, you're in the know, and if you're not, it's just names. It was so funny in Korea at that point, because X1 were huge, and then all their shit disappeared. There were a few groups, but, like, what was it when it was, like, Orbits had this thing of, like, anytime a fandom shit-talked Luna, something really bad happened to the group. I remember that being, like, a conspiracy theory after X1. But anyway, yeah, they disappeared. But yeah, okay, now we're gonna talk about some of the trainees in specific who got fucked over in previous seasons. The court disclosed some of their names. Kang Dong-ho from Newest? I don't know. Kang Dong-ho's rating was manipulated in season 2 to prevent him from being in the final group. Not all the fucked up votes from Produce 48 were revealed, but the court did say that Lee Ka-eun and Cho-won, so Ka-eun used to be in after school, she was from Pledis, and Cho-won, she's in Lightsome now, she was from Cube. Both of them were prevented from being in the final group. Ka-eun was in 5th, but dropped to 14th after the manipulation. Cho-won was 6th, but dropped to 13th. As for Produce X101, the court dropped a lot of names. Anzardi Timothy was eliminated in the first round unjustly. He was the one who got swapped. Kim Koo-kun and Lee Jin-woo were eliminated in the third round unjustly, same reason. Koo Jung-mo, Lee Jun-hyuk, and Kim Dong-hyun were kept from the final group. Lee Hae-in in specific was summoned for the trial to be a witness for Produce 101 specifically, where she ranked 17th. She was also on Idol School, where she ranked 11th, but it was revealed that she was ranked first in viewer votes, but was unjustly eliminated from the Fromis 9 lineup. She would have been first, and they were just like, nah, fuck that, and brought her down to 11th. Her dad alleged through her fan site that CJ E&M suggested during her audition that she sign with their subsidiary, Stone Music, to ensure she'd be able to debut after her Produce 101 elimination. Which, why would she not be able to debut at her own company? Anyway, she signed, and she did it out of fear of not being let on Idol School, but, like, it didn't fucking matter, because she didn't get to debut with Stone Music, and idol school fucked her over anyway. Yeah, from what I understood from the research I did, she should have been in first place, and they dropped her down to 11th. I want to stress that vote manipulation isn't the only way Mnet manipulated audiences. It was just what was illegal. The vote tampering and bribery was explicitly illegal, but they were also manipulating the final lineups in other ways. They were giving the trainees they liked more screen time, they were giving them really good edits, and when other trainees they didn't like were getting more popular, they'd give those trainees villain edits. They would assign concepts to trainees on purpose, giving ones they liked stuff they'd succeed with, and ones they didn't like, things they suck at. There's so much other tomfoolery you'd have to expect, there's so much other tomfoolery, and you have to expect it to a certain extent on a reality show, but this one, specifically being a competition show, makes it feel really sleazy. Yeah, it's insane. So that's pretty much all of the main background on Produce 101 and the vote rigging. That's kind of the big scandal that happened and all the fucked up shit that happened in 2019-2020. Now I want to kind of move on to Chinese and foreign idols in K-pop. Foreign idols and Chinese/Taiwanese trainees specifically historically haven't been treated the best in K-pop. There are always going to be exceptions to the rule. Like Tribe, for example, in my opinion, does a pretty good job of taking care of their foreign member. Tribe, for example, in my opinion, does a pretty good job of taking care of their foreign members, but when there's so many instances of the opposite, you can't ignore patterns that arise. I can't necessarily speak to in detail why things are this way, like socio-politically or anything, because I haven't done enough research on that part specifically, and I don't want to misspeak and speak out of turn. I still think it's really important to touch on and emphasize that I still think it's important to touch on and emphasize that this is a thing, though, because it plays into some of the issues with Girls Planet. In K-pop, a lot of the time, they add these Chinese, Hong Konger, Taiwanese, and Singaporean members to essentially get them brownie points and attention from those countries, but then don't do anything with those members and often mistreat them. Also, a couple of my mods had more knowledge of why, so I'm just gonna give my examples first, and then I'm gonna parrot what they told me as to why this happens. The first big example is the members of EXO. I'm not gonna say the one guy by name because he's a piece of shit and is probably going to jail, and I don't want to say his name. But when he was terminating his contract with SM, he said the company gave him serious health issues. He'd at one point been diagnosed with myocarditis. I think I said that right, which is a heart issue, and like heart issues are nothing to fuck around with. But SM did nothing about it and expect him to keep promoting. Tao also talked about similar mistreatment. He'd injured his ankle during promotions and was never given enough time for it to heal, and that only made the injury more severe. EXO's whole thing, if you remember when they debuted, they had EXO-K and EXO-M, so EXO Korea and EXO Mandarin, so they could promote in both Korea and China. They dropped that shit real fast, and the Chinese members got, like, fucking crumbs in the group songs when they were put together. Lay, in particular, is their last Chinese member that's still, like, ethnically Chinese, as far as I remember. And he doesn't appear anymore, like, at all anymore. Recently, that's been due to the THAAD and him being a youth ambassador for the CCP, and that complicates things when it comes to Korean promotions. But, like, to be fair, even before that, he was just, like, the dance guy. Like, he barely did shit. He's got a beautiful voice, he can rap, but, like, he was just the dance guy. Like, he's talented as fuck, and it's not for lack of ability. He's done compositions for EXO. When Tao and the other unnamed asshole who's going to jail, when they left, they were the main rappers for EXO-M and in EXO songs. And they didn't let Lay rap, besides him being fully competent. They just gave... Oh, hiccups. They just gave all those parts to Chanyeol and Sehun, who were really not hurting for lines. I don't know. It just, like, the treatment of the Chinese members was always weird. Even within EXO-M, like, the Korean members who were in EXO-M got treated a lot better than the Chinese members. Yeah, so, also, Victoria was an FX, also a SM group. She was basically a background dancer. She didn't really get to do shit. Chalu from Fiestar? I don't know how to say her name. Sorry, my friend. Sorry, Lou. She's mentioned her company low and mistreating her and not being paid for long periods of time. she wasn't promoted very well by Lowen, despite being kind of a variety star. Like, she was really popular. She was on Got Married. Like, people knew who she was, but Lowen didn't do shit with her. JYP famously mishandled Miss A, pushing Min and Suzy a lot more than Jia and Faye, resulting in Suzy's fame especially skyrocketing and leaving others as an afterthought. When that started to happen, it was clear that JYP was putting a lot more care and emphasis onto Suzy's solo work, and they, like, did nothing to make sure that, like, Jia and Faye weren't left behind. And this isn't just an older issue either. Like, all those groups are, like, 2nd gen, 3rd gen-ish, but this shit's still happening. Lin Lin from Cherry Bullet was an afterthought in the first two comebacks that she participated in. She disappeared from promotions and Cherry Bullet content on social media, and when FNC finally announced that she wasn't in the group anymore, they said something about her needing to go home for personal reasons, and then, like, a fucking week later, she posted on her Instagram, in Seoul. So they were fucking lying. Ting Zhao in Uju Sanya, she was especially overlooked. There's a version of their song Happy where she literally does not have a single line. Like, for K-pop, people do these things on YouTube called line distributions. So they'll track the amount of lines that each member has and, like, give them a percentage of the song. And yeah, so Cheng Zhao didn't have any lines. To get, like, there was a version of Happy, the live version of Happy. People did, like, a special one. Like, a special line distribution just for the live version versus the studio version, because that was the one that Cheng Zhao had. So they were like, oh, we better do a line distribution for this one, because Cheng Zhao actually has lines. I didn't know that about Lin Lin. I followed her on Insta, but I didn't even realize, oh yeah, it was so sus. The same thing happened with Kokoro, but we're talking mainly about the Chinese idols right now, because, like, Japanese idols are also mistreated to a certain extent, but, like, the Chinese idols especially is not good. But yeah, no, back to not Cheng Zhao not having she didn't have any lines. Chen Zhao had no fucking lines. Meiqi and Zhuan Yi were also kind of background players too, which is absolutely insane because they went to place 1st and 2nd on Produce 101 China. Even before their promotions with Rocket Girls, it was so clear they had so much more potential than Starship was letting them show. Zhuan Yi was like a standout on variety shows. She was so goofy. Like, Meiqi especially has shown just how charismatic and talented she has since blowing up at China, and it's literally been years since the 3 Chinese members have promoted with Uju Sonya. Like, I don't even remember how long ago it was their last song where all 12 members of Uju Sonya were part of it. And I know there were some contract and visa issues initially, and then Rocket Girls promotions, but Rocket Girls is disbanded now, and those issues are supposedly fixed. Handong from Dreamcatcher was another one that people talked about, those issues, and then the Chinese member of Pentagon, they were also the ones who had, like, those issues. They're both back in their groups now. Starship cited the same reasons for why their 3 Chinese members couldn't come back, but they're not back. Uju Sonya still acted like they don't fucking exist. I'm just saying. NCT, another SM group. SM is racist. Okay, nope, I take that back. That's alleged. It's a joke. Anyway. NCT has quite a few Chinese and Taiwanese members, but I'm not giving them brownie points for that, because they put them in their own special little unit the first chance they got and shipped them off to China for, like, a solid couple years. And we're just like, yep, bye. Go do your thing somewhere else. Most of the China line doesn't get much for lines or featuring spots in Korean NCT songs. I'm looking at Win Win specifically there. I'm counting 10 in the China line too, because while he grew up in Thailand and has a Thai name, he's ethnically Chinese. Do y'all remember he debuted at NCTU and then he fucking disappeared for like a year? He was literally a fan favorite. Everyone was talking about him, but they didn't do shit with him. They were like, here's this one NCTU song. Now we're gonna put out like 5 NCT 127 songs. Where's 10? I don't know. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. Okay. Everyone was sweating over 10 and then he was gone. I know! It was ridiculous. Okay. I'm getting heated, but it's worth getting heated over. Anyway. Okay, moving on. Fanatics, another group. SM really said Win Win is in 127. That's enough Chinese. SM's racist. Don't at me. Fanatics, I think, has a really shitty agency in general. Like, this isn't about the Chinese members in specific, but, like, they'll put their idols in compromising positions on V-Lives where you can, like, see up their fucking skirts, or almost, and they'll do it just for clicks. And they've been proven doing it. Like, their V-Lives are literally pedo bait. But Shika, the half-Chinese member, literally got hit by a staff member during a V-Live for daring to want to cover her friends up with her sweater. You didn't literally see the assault on the live, but you heard the hit and her reaction. You saw the shocked and scared faces of the members on live, and they, like, immediately, like, took the sweater off their legs. And then we haven't seen her after that. She literally disappeared. All of her stuff was deleted off of all the social media sites, and they announced, like, 2 months ago that she was leaving the group to go back to China. They literally did not say anything until then. She disappeared. Chia Yi too, who is Taiwanese, she didn't get a single, like, there's none of that explicit stuff yet. I don't want to say yet, because that's fucked up, but there's no clear explicit stuff. They kicked her out. Maybe she left. But I don't know, she, like, disappeared off all their socials, and now she's back in China, and she's not in the group anymore. But yeah, Chia Yi, is Taiwanese, we'll probably talk about her more, because she was on Girls Planet, but Chia Yi, she didn't get a single line in Vavi Girl. She was basically there to do a couple back handsprings for, like, a cool stunt part, but even then, she only got to do that stunt during one live stage. For context, like, during a promotion cycle, a group does, like, up to 25 stages sometimes, especially if they're a smaller group and they're promoting for longer to get more attention. She got to do the one cool thing she could do. She got to do one cool thing in the entire song. And then even then, she only got to perform that cool thing on one live stage. And she got literally no lines. I'm heated. I'm heated. Okay, it pains me to talk about this, because Yeja Idol, or G-Idol, is one of my favorite groups, but they're another interesting case. Shuhua doesn't get shit for lines either. I think the worst version of that was in Hua. Like, I think her only lines was, like, a little spoken ad-lib right before the chorus. Yugi has been openly One China, and I don't necessarily blame her. Cube has her promoting in China, and in order to literally keep her job and be able to do that, she needs to play by China's rules. If she didn't say she was One China, Idol and Cube would both have been blacklisted in China, and they want that dough, and also, Yugi probably wants to fucking go home, you know? Like, she probably wants to see her family. So while I might not personally support the One China policy, and I absolutely fucking do not, I really can't be too mad at Yugi for protecting her ass and her career. However, can you imagine being Shuhua, who is Taiwanese, and having a girl in your fucking group openly announce her support for One China? Especially since I'm fairly certain Cube probably got Yugi to do it. I think they probably made Yugi say that, and even if they didn't, they put Yugi and Shuhua in the same group. They put them in the same group together. There's one video that there was, like, the Taiwanese flag edited over Shuhua, and before there wasn't even any backlash yet, Cube deleted the video and apologized. Like, there wasn't even backlash, and Cube was like, nope, Taiwan doesn't exist, and just flat out denied that Shuhua's entire fucking country existed. I am so heated. This is all still context, by the way. We're still not to the meat yet. This is still context. Anyway, I think one of the most jarring things I can remember to do with this all is with Zuyu from Twice. I know that, like, her Korean romanization is Jui, but I saw an interview where, like, she introduced herself and she called herself Zuyu. Or Zuyu. It sounded better when she said it because she's actually Taiwanese, but if that's her actual name and that's what she wants to be called, I'm gonna call her that. Anyway, in Twice's early days, I think it was, like, Cheer Up era, might even have been, like, UA era, like, either debut or first comeback after debut. There's a variety show, and in the background, Zuyu is waving a Taiwanese flag. I got the picture right here. Look at her. She's just smiling, looking at her flags. Look how cute she is. That enraged China. JYP had her film an apology video saying that Taiwan was part of China, and it literally looked like she was filming at gunpoint. This video is here. You could tell that she was distressed and that JYP was making her say it. She was still a minor. She was like fucking 16 years old. Her company forced her to get on camera while she was emotionally distressed and basically discredit her country, which clearly she had pride in because she was waving the flag. Also, that their company could keep making money in mainland China. Like I said, there are more examples, and there are examples too of Chinese idols thriving. Like, look at Jackson from GOT7. I think he's been treated pretty well. I think Ning Ning from aespa so far has been treated well. But even in these examples, there are probably some of these cases where there are other things at play too. Like, with what I've shown, there's probably other stuff too. But I do think there is a pattern of Chinese and Taiwanese idols in K-pop being mistreated. And I think that context is important as we get in the meat of this, because it's an element in the Girls Planet 999 debacle. Now I'm going to talk about... I'm still talking about, like, the Chinese treatment of idols. This is stuff that came straight from my mods. Because, like I said, I'm not super educated on the why this is like this. I just, like, have noticed it happening. And so I wanted to talk to some people who understand, I guess, this a little bit more. One of my mods lived in Korea for a couple of years. She's in chat. Her name is BB. And I asked her to speak to this. So this is me quoting her. From now on, this is me quoting her. She said that Korea is pretty homogenous and it can have a bit of an exclusionary vibe. Like, a foreigner is a foreigner is a foreigner. But Asian foreigners get more grief, and they get that grief about not speaking Korean or not knowing Korean social etiquette, because a lot of that is built off of Confucianism, which is a huge moral code in East Asia. She talked about one of her roommates being Chinese American, and when she took her to go get a new pair of glasses, she did most of the translating for her, and she heard some of the Korean people around her talk about the situation really rudely. She also noticed her professors treat Japanese and Chinese exchange students worse than Western students. She also went in a little bit more into the Chinese-Korean relations based on her understanding from the modern history classes she took in Korea. China in ancient times had what her professor described as an East Asian hegemony. Hegemony? I don't fucking know how to say that, but basically the king of Korea would pay tribute to and listen to the Chinese emperor. A new king would not be instated if he wasn't recognized by the Chinese emperor. And there was times in history when China came to Korea's aid while Japan was trying to take over. However, during the Korean War, China aided North Korea, and had they not, there was a strong chance that Korea as a whole would have been all democratic. She explained to me the reason why the demarcation zone exists is because the Chinese soldiers just kept coming and coming, and the Americans didn't want to waste the resources because they saw absolutely no hope for Korea. So it's a long history, especially in reference to the Korean War. There's obviously going to be some wounds, which is why there's some of that tension there. I also have another mod who's Korean American. Her name is Imitation Angel. Her name is Kay. You've probably seen her before. She has family in Korea, has been to Korea. I asked for her input too. She spoke to a lot of the same points as BB did about it being largely xenophobia and general past beef over things like the Korean War. Hiccup. Anyway, she also mentioned that in her experience, a lot of Koreans act really rude and degrading towards North Koreans too, so that China-North Korean connection likely plays a part in that. She raised another point too, which I thought was interesting. A lot of Korean idols come from rich families or families in power, which directly affect the people in charge. She described the xenophobia against Chinese idols as a sentiment similar to the immigrants are stealing our jobs sentiment we see here in North America. So that's kind of more context. Honestly, Chinese-Korean relations is something that can be an essay in itself, and I obviously do not have all the research, but I think that sets the stage on what the bulk of this video essay is about, so let's move on. Hi, Ash! Thank you for the hydrate command. Right? Interesting. Well, and that's, I think, BB, you and I have talked before about, like, there are some idols that you can tell were, like, they kind of are in their group because they're rich. You know? Like, we've seen that before. And so, Kay's point, I think, is really poignant. You totally tuned in the right time? You missed all the context, but you're here for the main show. I'm doing a video essay on something I've been obsessed with for the past 2 weeks. So, we're talking about Girls Planet 999, which was a survival show, like a South Korean survival show, where a bunch of contestants competed to be in a final group. That's what we're basically talking about. So first I talked about the history of vote rigging, and then I talked about treatment of Chinese idols and K-pop. Who needs context when you got the main event? Exactly, which is what we're getting into now. Let's go. First, I want to kind of talk about the format of Girls Planet. Girls Planet 999 was announced. V-Spices, yay, video essay. Let's go. I've been obsessed with this for the past 2 weeks. I just needed to get it out. I've never thought about the power dynamic and rich dynamic in much detail other than paid to win. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that either until Kay brought it up, but it's definitely an interesting point. But yes, okay. I'm going to talk about the format now. Girls Planet 999, which I'm going to refer to as Girls Planet, because 99, and I don't want to keep saying 999. It was announced on January 11th, 2021, which, you know, is real interesting considering Mnet claimed they are never doing another audition competition show, but you know what? They're fucking liars. What else is new? They said in May 2020 they weren't doing this shit again, and then 8 months later, that was a lie. And January is just when they announced it, which means shit was in production and being prepared, probably in, like, fucking August. They literally pretended to wash their hands of this concept for 3 months, and they were like, JK! Hi, Jamie! You came just in time. You missed all the context, but who the fuck needs context? That's what Ash said. Who needs context when you got the main event? Yeah, no, anyway, Girls Planet was another reality competition show where 99 trainees competed to be in a 9-member group. Produce 101 was Korean trainees mainly. Produce 48, the big thing was it was Mnet and AKB48 meeting together to do this thing, so it was Korean and Japanese trainees working together. I'm gonna listen and learn so I don't interrupt you so much. Don't worry about it. Please enjoy. Yes. So, Produce 48 was Korean and Japanese trainees, and so Girls Planet was like, we're gonna fucking one-up you, I guess. So they featured Korean, Japanese, and Chinese trainees. Basically, the 99 girls were divided evenly into 3 groups based on their ethnicity. K group, C group, and J group. I'll be quiet about Chief Girls Project because I've done a lot of choreography for it. Listen, it's a great show. I love the show. I love so many of the girls on it. I'm obsessed. Some things were just so sus. I just need to talk about them. That's cool that you've done the choreography for it, though. That sounds dope as fuck. Also, welcome to chat, everyone. Yeah, okay, so basically the girls were divided evenly into 3 groups. K group, C group, and J group. C group also had Taiwanese and Hong Kong-based trainees, not just Chinese trainees, but that's a whole other issue for another day. Oh, cool, forever. Oh, Pumpkin, hi! BB has talked about you. It's nice to finally meet you. Okay, but basically how the show worked was that all the girls auditioned before the show, and out of a pool of like 13,000 applicants, 99 were picked. During the first episode, they did a demo stage, which acted as like the public on-screen audition. During these auditions, the masters, who are like the judges and mentors, pick who the top 9 are gonna be, and those top 9 get to rearrange the cells. Wait, Forever and Once, are you perchance Lissa? Who's come back to chat? Juhi, best judge. I love the judges. I'm such a Tiffany. Okay, I figured. It's nice to see you again. Hi, Pumpkin. I really liked seeing Tiffany and Sunmi together. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, the cells are groups of 3, that all the contestants were divided into. 1 trainee from each group, and they're kind of tied to that cell. So for the first few episodes, they kind of compete as a team. Like they're all doing performances on their own, and viewers are voting for specific people, but they're ranked as cells. So during the first elimination, they got eliminated as a team, not as individuals. So if your cellmate is really popular, even if you kind of suck for the first few episodes, yeehaw, you're safe, even if your individuals votes suck. So, like, basically, they're all in groups of 3. They're ranked, and they're voted for and ranked individually, but when it comes time for who gets eliminated, all of, like, the groups of 3, all of their votes are combined together, and they're ranked as those groups of 3, instead of just individually. It's really fucking convoluted and complicated, but I'll explain it more later. But also, every episode, they show the cell rank, but they also show the individual rank. So, say you got mad boosted by your super cool cellmate, you're still not going to be number 3 in total, because the individual rankings, you're 82nd where you belong. me on the show. She's a Emerging Wake with kind of how we got the case for Sumi. It just seems like such a gem. Okay. This is kind of the show progression. So there's the pre-show auditions, then the demo stages. This is like, this is how the episodes were laid out, I guess, is a better way of saying it. So there's the pre-show auditions, that wasn't shown. There's the demo stages, those were the on-air auditions, those were the first couple episodes. You meet the girls, you see their first performances. Then there was the Connect missions, they're the first, like, real performances that aren't, like, they don't have, like, weeks of prep. So basically, the teams, there's a bunch of teams, like 2 teams compete to perform the same song. There are a bunch of teams, but like for each song there were like 2 teams and they were doing the same song competing against each other, if that makes sense. But yeah, next were the combination mission episodes. Teams got into groups based on their skills. So like there'd be a rap team, there'd be a dance team, there'd be a vocal team, and they'd show all of that off. Then there was the creation missions. They're given original songs. They were voted into those song groups by the audience based on the concept. Then there was the OOO mission, where they were divided into groups and all performed a version of the show's big theme song. And then the completion mission, which is the finale. 2 groups perform the final song together. So there's live voting, and then the top 9 are announced. Shoot and Snake, best songs ever. Snake was definitely my favorite. There was a special live stream too, right before episode 12, but we'll get to that later. But so basically that's the format of the show. I like this as a thank you. I worked really hard on the research for it. As BB, I was just like freaking out at just like I said, on my private Twitter, my spam Twitter, I had a 40 tweet thread of just like all this shit at like when the final 9 were announced, like just all my reactions. I've thought about this way too much. We love autistic hyperfixations. Ash, thank you for the 10 bits. I really appreciate it. That's so kind of you. Haley put so much work in this. I put so much work into everything except for the slideshow. The slideshow I did 2 hours ago. Oh well, it works. I'm going to go through some of the terminology now, because a lot of you in chat are K-pop fans, but not everyone is. Most of what I'm talking about is going to be pretty straightforward, especially with the context I've already laid down, but I'm just going to explain a few concepts real quick so everyone can follow along, even if they don't know shit. I'm probably going to over-explain shit that's super obvious, especially for K-pop fans, but, like, not everyone in my audience knows about K-pop, so we're all going to get on the same page, okay? Oop, I did not mean to do that. We're back. Okay, so, cells. Cells are the groups of 3 the trainees were put into. There was 1 from K group, 1 from J group, and 1 from C group. Angel edit and evil edit. This is common in a lot of reality shows, not just Korean ones. Producers take the footage they have and put it together to push a narrative. Sometimes they omit things to make someone look good, an angel edit, and sometimes things are omitted or edited to make someone look bad, the evil edit. Also, okay, so K group, the Korean trainees, J group, the Japanese trainees, C group is the Chinese, Taiwanese, and Hong Konger trainees. I personally don't feel super great about lumping them all together under the C group moniker, and I am in no way trying to erase the ethnicities of the members of this group who aren't from mainland China, but I'll be calling them C group because that's what they're referred to during the show. The cells, all the people in Cell got something in common. At the start they did, but then they were rearranged. The cells weren't the same for the entire show. They were rearranged every episode, from what I remember. Okay, Mnet is the broadcasting company that produces Girls Planet 999. They produced the Produce series. They produced Idol School. They have a lot of music shows. CJ E&M, the huge media conglomerate that owns Mnet. They're kind of, like I said, they're the Disney of South Korea, okay? They own so much shit. There are so many, like, little subgroups under them. The masters are the coaches / mentors / judges of the show. The Simon Cowells, if you will, but a lot more involved, I would say. I'll put my show on pause to give this presentation my full attention. This is so good. Thank you. That is very kind of you to say. I worked so hard on it. Okay, also, debut, kind of self-explanatory, but in K-pop, when a group is born and releases their first song, that's a debut. Trainee, K-pop is a business, it's an industry. Before a debut, future idols train under companies so they can be part of a group. They practice dancing, they practice singing, rapping, language, face acting, you name it. Those are trainees. Thanks, Lissa. One sec, I gotta... my mom texted me. One sec, chat. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, so that's a trainee. And then, is there another slide? No, I just put the most important stuff. Because trainee and debut, they're kind of more just, like, quick concepts. And okay, One China. The One China policy is a concept pushed by the CCP that Taiwan is part of China, not its own country. Anyone who claims anything otherwise is on the Chinese government's shit list, especially considering China has a pretty fucking authoritarian government. Many people in China either believe in it wholeheartedly or pretend to believe in it to protect themselves. It's very complicated. John Oliver recently did a piece on Taiwan. Ah! Baby, thank you for the 9-month resub. Wait, what color belt do you have now? You have the 9-month one. You got the red one. Let's go. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. But yeah, John Oliver did a piece on Taiwan talking about the One China policy. If you're really interested in more in-depth that. I've been sub for a whole birth of a child. We have a Twitch baby. What should we name it? Seriously though, I really appreciate that. I've been gone for a while. I was worried about this stream because I've been gone for a while. And like, it's so, I play games. It's so different than what I usually do, but anyway. That's, okay, that's the main terminology. If there's anything we get to later in the presentation, I'll explain it more in detail, but that's kind of the words that you need to know. We're gonna talk a little bit about some smaller issues. We're gonna talk about the issues throughout the show, but I want to start with some like smaller points that don't really need to get dug into more, I guess. Mnet always knew the lineup they wanted. Like in past shows, they knew who they wanted to make it to the end, and there were things they did to ensure they got as close to that lineup as possible. I'm gonna start with some smaller things they did before digging in some bigger issues. The Masters, so these people here, they were portrayed on the show to be very strict and harsh and not super encouraging, to the point that Sunmi's straight up gotten death threats on Twitter. In reality, though, the Masters did have a ton of positive and helpful critique, it just didn't get aired. Tiffany has said this, and some of the trainees have confirmed this since the show has concluded too. Any positive notes from the Masters that were aired were strategic, in my opinion. They were building a narrative, and they wanted you to like some of the trainees over others. If an authority figure of the show is complimenting someone, you're more likely to warm up to that trainee and think they're good, because the people in charge are saying they're good, you know? Like, Tiffany's been in Girls' Generation and has been an idol for, like, fucking 15 years. If they air Tiffany saying someone's really good, you're gonna think subconsciously that someone's really good, right? So, they just didn't air a lot of that, except for what they wanted. Yeah, Semi was also in Wonder Girls for forever. Like, they're respected people. Also, the J group got barely any screen time. This was especially a problem for Kamimoto Kotone. She barely appeared on the show, save for her performances, and during her rap evaluation mission, she fucking called Mnet the fuck out. You can see them on the screen here. Her lyrics were, "Where did my parts on TV end up going? Hardly anyone knows about my existence. Mom, I'm a hidden gem." There was some more in the middle, and then her part concluded with her saying, "It's a shame to go home like this." Homie had balls, and she called them out on their own damn show. So that, after that, for that elimination, the Masters gave her the Planet Pass. What that basically is for each elimination, they save 3 people who are going to be eliminated and, like, give them a second chance. So she got the Planet Pass for that episode, and nothing changed, though. Like, she called them the fuck out, dissed them. They saved her for it, but nothing changed. She got no screen time after that and got eliminated the next round. The only downside of shows is not everything that can be aired. I mean, I have an entire presentation yet to go about other downsides of the show. That's definitely a downside, but there's more. Oh, one sec, I got a message. Okay. Alright. I want to dig into C Group now. Oh, thank you for the hydrate command. I want to dig into C Group now because they've been pretty much across the board. They got hit with an evil edit and were framed misleadingly and poorly on the show. At one point, Liang Zhao got a stomach bug and was ill. She was sick. The show edited her out to look lazy and like she just didn't want to practice. Also, Zhao and a Korean trainee named Chae-yoon had a disagreement on the show that was over-edited, never really shown to have any sort of resolution, so viewers came away from that thinking that they fucking hated each other. But Zhao and Chae-yoon are literally friends. Zhao has posted vlogs with Chae-yoon since. Like, after the show concluded, they posted a vlog together. There's no beef there, but that's not what the show will have you think. The incubation period, I have to be in labor for 9 months. I still remember Yanning Yujin helicopter. Oh, just wait, we'll get there. Also, Huang Jingchao, words are hard, laughed in an awkward time and was edited to look poorly from that too. Like, they made these girls look really bad. Zhao and Jingchao got off light comparatively, though. Fu Yanning was the villain of the show. They really wanted to make her look like an asshole. One of the most famous dramas from the show was the helicopter incident from the demo stages. Could you imagine being labor for 9 months? Oh my god. I don't even want to be labor for 9 minutes. Okay. Okay, so basically, the most famous contestant on the show was Choi Yoo-jin. She's a member of CLC, which is a fairly big K-pop girl group. I liked them a lot. They're really good. They're basically disbanded now. They've all said that Cube, which is their company, said that they're not promoting as a group anymore. Some members have left and gone back to their home countries because there are some foreign members. Hi, Shay! How are you? Yeah, okay, so basically, Yoojin was the most famous contestant on the show, and CLC, the last song before they disbanded was a song called Helicopter, and one of the lines in the chorus is, "We go up, helicopter," right? So it's in English. That's the chorus. That's one of the lines. During the demo stages, which was the on-air auditions, one of the C Group teams did Helicopter for their audition. Before the performance, they were asked about doing the song and about Yoojin being in the room. Yanning said, "She originally sings this, but we can show a side only we can. Plus, we can do better than the original." There's another part, this is the part that really blew up, where Yanning was asked if she had anything to say to Yoojin, and she said, "We go up, but you don't," which we can see right here. Yoojin is a Korean idol. She's a senior to all the trainees, and that seniority and that respect is really important in Korean culture. So people got really mad, especially fans of Yoojin, because they thought they just saw their favorite idol get fucking roasted on live. However, there was a mistranslation. What Yanning said, what she actually said was, although the original singer is up there on the seat, we can show a different charm, and then even surpass the original singer like that. It's subtle, but to me there's a difference there. Hold on one sec, my mom's texting me. Okay, sorry. Okay, yeah, so the site mistranslated. What she actually said was, although the original singer is up there on the seat, we can, hi mom. So what she actually said was, although the original singer is up there on the seat, we can show a different charm, and then even surpass the original singer like that. And it's subtle, but to me, there's a difference. Like, I've put both the translation and the direct translation up there. She's saying that her team is going to show a different version of the song, which they are. They're not the same people as the original performance, so they're going to show a different performance. And from what I understand, that second part seems to be directly referencing the competition. To me, she doesn't seem to be saying our version is going to be better than CLC. To me, it reads as, hopefully this version we're doing for our demo stage is so good we'll surpass Yujin in the voting, which is cocky. I probably wouldn't have said that with Yujin in the room, but it's literally a competition, and they edit it to make it seem like she dropped a fucking slur or something. Like, everyone was pulling such shocked faces you would have thought she would body slam someone. And I do think that the mistranslation had a huge effect on the tone of the comment. Like, I don't know, imagine you're watching Drag Race, and two queens are on the stage, and they're asked about the other's performance, and one of them goes, I mean, she was good, but I'm better, and I'm gonna win. No one would have an issue. All these girls think they're good and want to do better than the others, and that's why they're there. It doesn't feel like a diss against CLC or Yujin to me, but rather Yeonjun saying she thinks that she has what it takes to be in the final group. To me. Also, Yeonning's group did not pick that song to perform either for the demo stage, which is what we're led to believe on the show. None of the teams picked their songs. They were assigned the songs by production. When you watch it for the first time, it feels like, wow, that's ballsy of her to pick Yujin's song and perform it in front of her. But it wasn't even her choice. Like, it genuinely feels like production was setting this up from the jump. And then the "we go up but you don't" comment was shitty, but it was overrated to look even worse. Yujin and Yeonjun are friends. Yujin didn't even look that bothered when it was said, in my opinion. And like a month later, you can see it here, they were dancing to the song together. Not to mention this demo stage was after months of training camp. These girls knew each other already. To me, it read more like a bad joke, a tasteless joke, but a joke. And even if it was a genuine barb, it was over-edited to all hell. I wrote that a few days ago, and then a few days later, there's more information. Yeonjun did a live. That whole incident was scripted. Yeonjun went on live and said that the masters and the producers of the show asked her outright to say something cruel. She said that the vibe in the studio that day was very bright and that she respects CLC a lot, and that Yujin reacted well to the scripted comment. That comment did what it was meant to do. The clip of the interaction blew up and it got more attention on the show. Tons of people who had never heard of the show or didn't know what was happening tuned in because of that, or at the very least heard about it. My ex-girlfriend literally fucking asked me about it because she saw something about it on Twitter. Like, Yeonjun was absolutely manipulated into being one of the big bad villains for ratings, especially because the one episode where she didn't get the evil edit, she literally fucking shot up in the votes and was in the top 9. Streamlabs, shut the fuck up. The whole incident made Yeonjun want to quit the show. She called her parents and told them how uncomfortable she was, but they encouraged her to stick through it, and I'm glad they did, because she's so fucking talented. But like you could see the translations of her live here. Like, they told her to say something fucked up, and then edit it like everyone was shocked that she said something fucked up, you know? And I thought, before this live, I thought it was weird that Sorn was more upset about this comment. Sorn is a member of Yujin's group. I thought it was weird that Sorn was more upset about this comment than Yujin, who was there, was. And now it makes sense because Yujin knows it's fake, whereas Sorn didn't. Thank you for 10 more bits. I really appreciate it. You don't have to do that. I love you. But I think even before Yeonjun said that, though, it was obvious. Like, this must be some of y'all's first Mnet show, because this has been happening since day one. There's a pretty big clip from the first Produce 101 where Somi was fucking fighting with someone. Like, someone's holding her back, and she looks like she's trying to start a fight. She's gone on a live and said that was staged. Like, she's done a live and said full out that it was staged. She literally went to the director and said that she was going to act upset and to put it in the preview because it would boost ratings. This is what Mnet shows do. Now, Chai Bing was another one of the top trainees. This is her here, the cute little bob, absolute legend. She got some of the worst edits after... She was the top trainee, one of the top trainees episode 1, but got some of the worst edits after that. They mistranslated her and twisted her words to make her out to be a bad leader, and edited out parts where she reconciled with her teammates. Suruchi was another one that was targeted too, which again is interesting because she was pretty popular in the grand scheme of things. For the Snake Creation mission performance, she wanted the main vocal position, and in my opinion was the best suited for the main vocal position, but she was essentially denied it because she mispronounced 3 syllables in the Eve performance a few weeks prior. A pretty small mistake. She's foreign, she doesn't speak Korean very well, and all things considered, it could have been easily rectified, especially considering a filming break had been taken mid-show, so she'd been in Korea for a while since that original performance, and her Korean would have been better. Homie literally didn't even get a chance to redeem herself. I'm still shocked she didn't get a final lap. Me too! One of the reasons why I'm never trying a survival show. I'm too old. Well, I mean, you can say you're too old. Wasn't that one guy from 101 who was, like, 28? Like, and who was it Hwang Un-sun on Produce 101 who was, like, almost 32? Us Fei fans were getting our asses kicked in voting during Chwang. Yeah, see, okay, there's good, I'll get there, baby, there's more, I promise. But yeah, she didn't even get a chance to redeem herself. They didn't even show any cuts of her practicing or trying out the high note, in practice either, which means she probably nailed it, because, you know, damn well they would have included it if she had fucked up. Then they edited her to make it look like she was being bratty over not getting a part she wanted. She was literally just upset and insecure about her critique and performance. The show was pushing a narrative that she wasn't good enough for that part, and she'd been isolated in this environment for months now. She was probably upset and doubting herself. And, like, even if she wasn't, I think being frustrated you didn't get a part you think you could really show off with is valid. Especially this far in the show when so much is on the line. I never heard of this show before tonight, and now I'm convinced to boycott it. It's already over, so you did a great job boycotting it. Yeah, we're boycotting the whole company. I'm younger than Eunbi was, but Eunbi had boss leadership. Eunbi's a boss bitch for sure. No boycotting the company. I'll boycott the company. Else me no work. There's lots of other companies. Gotta remember the company name. Mnet? Yeah. Could you imagine trying to boycott CJ E&M though? They're like the Korean Disney. It's like impossible. Okay, like I said, and I said before how the show picked the demo stages, right? They didn't get to perform songs that they picked for their on-screen audition. The production picked. So these are the Liang twins. They're members of GNZ48, which is like the Chinese branch of AKB48, okay? They're already idols. They're already debuted, and they're great dancers. I've seen videos of them dancing, and they're really good. And Mnet assigned them as their song for the demo stage. So, Uju Sanya Chokome, their unit song, which is a great song. I love the song. But it's really not that difficult dance-wise. The one skill the twins could really show off, and their demo stage didn't do shit to show it off. The twins are really smart, though, so in my opinion, they played the fuck on the cute cringe factor, and it worked, because they were memorable and got good screen time for the most part, and instead of the masters getting frustrated with them, which they were with most people who weren't doing so well, everyone was rooting for them, but they literally didn't get to show off the one thing they were really good at, which I think is mad sus. I want to watch their performance, because it's my favorite performance from this entire show. And I just need other people to see it, okay? So we're gonna watch it. Copyright be damned. Look how cute they are. There's no translation, so we're just gonna have to watch. Look how cute they are. They're both 17, by the way. Can you turn it up a bit? I can.
然后我就一直纠正他，他一直错，然后后来就哭了。
They're so cute. Oh no, she's crying. Okay, I think now is the performance. Just watch this. This is my favorite performance from the entire show.
我这一次绝对不会抢拍了，你千万别抢拍。화이팅! 화이팅!
화이팅! 아, 나 이 친구들이 잘했으면 좋겠어. 제발. 제발.
삐가 연기 잘한다.
삐졌대.
They're so cute.
아니 잠깐만 달콤한 사과를 받아줄래 어색 너네 받아줘 배 도비지기 좋네 도비지기 좋네 뭐야 나 완전 빌도는 게 한치뿐이야 한치뿐이야 내게로 돌아와 어깨가 hunchi 지지봉
They're so fucking cute. I'm that girl.
어떡해.
There's more. They like argue a little. It's really cute. They do like a whole thing. Like the reactions though, that's especially it. Like the twins are so fucking smart. They played up the cute and like you saw all the reactions even from the judges. Like everyone wanted them to do well and when they fucked up, people weren't like writing notes down and like being super stuff. They're just like, "Oh, they're so fucking smart." But also, you see what I mean, though. Like, they're dancers. They're very good dancers. That choreography is not something that'd be able to show that off. But yeah, no, I don't know. It's really fucking interesting to me, though, in general, how badly really popular Chinese trainees were made to look. Especially because this is not the end of it. Put a pin in that. We'll get back to that later. We'll get back to it later. There's more. When in doubt, just play cute. I don't think I could pull that off. I'm not as cute, but you know what? They did a great job. They're genuinely just really funny too. Like, I recommend looking into them as people. They're fucking hilarious. Okay, next I want to talk about some of the K group's treatment directly in comparison to C group and to a lesser extent J group, but like them too. I only have a couple of examples here for fear of talking forever, but it's the doozy. This is Kim Da-yeon. And she is one of the biggest examples of the angel edit on this show. Holy fuck. You know when you're like watching early seasons of Drag Race and like Raja walks in and you're immediately like, oh, she's gonna win because they made the edit so fucking obvious? That was Da-yeon. You could tell from the jump that she was production's favorite and they wanted her the final group. During creation mission episodes, there was like a special mission where the 4 groups would get sent to places to perform challenges. So, like, for example, one team got sent to a rural town to harvest some produce for lunch and then had to perform their song for the town's residents. One team got to go to the Lade World Tower and to perform on a suspension bridge on the 118th floor. A third team went on a hike and then went paragliding and had to perform their song while they were in the fucking air paragliding. The 4th group, however, went to Da-yeon's fucking apartment. Their mission was to write letters to Da-yeon specifically and then perform for Da-yeon's mom. And then had sushi at Da-yeon's dad's restaurant. This girl literally had an episode about her, where all her friends had to write nice things about her, where her parents' restaurant was advertised on national television. Like, what the fuck? I saw someone say that Da-yeon's mom literally got more screen time than Kotone, which she did! Da-yeon wasn't even in the group that went to the apartment! It's fucking insane! Da-yeon was also played up as such a good leader in all the little missions when she was leader for a group performance, for the ice cream performance specifically, and that was directly in contrast in that episode with Chai Bing. Like, you could tell the production team wanted to hammer home that dichotomy that, like, Da-yeon good, Bing bad. It wasn't just her, though. Yeonjung was portrayed as an imposing leader, too, even though her team's performance ended up being one of the strongest ones that episode. Wang Yale was another leader who got a shit edit. It's just interesting to look at the patterns, okay? Especially taking Mashiro into consideration. Mashiro was her group's leader, if you look, for almost every single performance she was in. Every performance until the last one, she was the leader. And the last one, the only reason she wasn't the leader was because Yujin was in her group, and Yujin was the only one who was like a debuted idol. So they're like, oh, she knows what she's doing, we'll make her the leader, which makes sense. But the fact that Mashiro was the leader for so many times in a row says to me that she was a good leader and people trusted her and wanted her to be a leader, and so they kept picking her. But that wasn't ever shown on the show. Da-yeon was the only one portrayed as the top group leader to the point where people are campaigning for her to be the leader of the final group, which, you know, maybe she'll be good at, but it just goes to show how much that, like, production can manipulate what the audience thinks. I want to make it clear here that my intent isn't to shit on Dion or anything. It's not her fault, and from what we know, like, she didn't do anything to be pushed that hard, but she was pushed to the moon, and I think that needs to be pointed out, especially with how the C group was treated. On that note, back to the pin we put in the C group's treatment earlier. By all accounts, the way the Chinese, Taiwanese, and Hong Kong-based trainees were treated on and off the show was fucking abysmal. Don't mind John Cena there on my screen, we'll get to him. Yes, that is John Cena. We'll get to that. Korean viewers bashed the C group. They did not like the Chinese trainees, and allegedly the entire reason for the cell structure, them being in those groups of 3, was because of the C group. How voting worked early on in the show is that you had to vote for one trainee in each group. And then the cells were ranked based on those individual votes, so structuring it that way seems to be production's way of making sure a good amount of Chinese trainees made it past the first few eliminations. Which, I mean, is good of the show, I guess, but it's good that the show wanted to keep the Chinese trainees around for a little longer, but not good that it had to happen at all, you know? One big issue, though, was around the One China policy. Many of the Chinese trainees, especially the ones who had been on Chinese survival shows like Youth With You, had posted on their Weibos that supported One China, and they were fucking lambasted for them. But you have to understand, these girls are from China. They live in China and are trying to become idols. They're literally trying to become public figures in China. There are Korean groups and Chinese K-pop idols who have expressed their support for One China to not get blacklisted in the mainland. Do you think it's any different for Chinese performers? No fucking shot. Many of the One China posts from C group trainees seemed like they were corporate PR posts to me, especially. Like, I don't know, that's just my opinion, but I don't know. I get bashing John Cena for saying pro One China shit because he's American and literally only saying it so the Fast series will make $1 billion few more dollars. But these performers are literally just protecting their livelihoods. It's an authoritarian country. Even if they do support it, which I doubt all of them do, they live in an authoritarian country. They're made to think that. It's what they're taught, it's what they're told, it's what they learn in school. Like, it's shady, but I absolutely do not think death threats and public bashing of some C group members was worth it or necessarily even warranted, especially when some of your fave Chinese, Korean group members and Chinese K-pop idols and even Korean K-pop idols have said the same shit. Yeah, I've seen Produce 101 China. Rocket Girls is one of my favorite groups. Beyond that, I think it was Ma Yuling who said this in a live, but one of the C group trainees in a live has said that Korean staff treated the C group differently. There are apparently only 2 Korean staff members who were kind to them. All the others were very rude to the point that some C group trainees were reduced to tears. Just bad shit. This is more broad and speaking the mistreatment of all trainees, harkening back to the context when we were talking about idol school. But Zhu Ziyin did a live. I'm gonna call her Rhoda Zhu because it's easier for me to remember, and that's what she goes by when she's a soloist in China. But she did a live and talked about her demo stage audition. She was the first one, as far as I can tell, who dropped the bomb that the contestants didn't get to choose their own audition pieces and that the show picked the songs for them. Rhoda said that when it came to the demo stage filming day, she had been awake for 30 hours and hadn't eaten in 12 hours before her audition. She also said that she doesn't remember any of it, and that day in particular ended up being a 40-hour ordeal. Can you fucking imagine dancing and singing to the intensity that these girls were after not sleeping in almost 2 days and not eating in 12 hours? Like, that's fucking inhumane, and it's clear that nothing has changed since the idol school issues. I screenshotted the translation from her live. Oh, I'm gonna switch my cams. I forgot to do that. There we go. Big Haley's back. But yeah, she, like, wanted to change her song, but she didn't get to. Her song was Siren by Sunmi. So the song she didn't want to perform because she didn't think it suited her, and then she had to perform it in front of the original artist, who is the judge, which, you know, that's fucking insane. But yeah, she didn't get to do it. She had to teach it to herself, and I don't know, she was thirsty and only drank 2 sips of water before going on stage. Are you fucking kidding me? Anyway. It's a total real... It's insane. This show is fucking insane. When I said I did so much research on this show and still, like, I need to talk. This is why I need to talk about it. There's so much weird shit that happened. I just need to get it off my chest because it's nuts. Okay. Choo choo splat. No kidding. Okay, so far most of this has been observable stuff from the show or things that contestants have come out and said. This is all provable stuff, but we're gonna slowly be moving into stuff that is more my observation, so just keep that in mind. This is more like conspiracy theory shit that I've noticed that, like, you can take or leave, okay? How's there not a lawsuit? No fucking idea. I have to assume that they signed some sort of waiver that they couldn't sue for this, because, like, one thing Rhoda said in her live was, like, she knew from Youth With You that someone could survive 3 days without sleep, and it was a joke, but I don't think she was joking. But I think there's something in their contract that they have to sign some sort of waiver, and I think that this is, like, par for the course. Like, I think a lot of survival shows are like this, but that doesn't make it okay, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, now we're gonna talk about the voting change, the interim ranking, and the shit that went on around that. I touched on earlier, but how the voting on this show worked until after the third voting period was that you voted for one trainee in each group, so K, C, and J. So if I were voting hypothetically, I'd go in and, for example, pick, it was like K group, I would be like, okay, Yujin, and then it'd be like, vote for C group, I'd be like, yeah, Yaning, and then J group, I'd be like, okay, Mashiro, and then I voted for 3 people, 1 in each group, and cast my vote, if that makes sense. Okay. I may... I really... When I was talking to BB this before, this part was a little harder to explain, so I made a chart. I'm gonna try to explain this. Up until episode 8, the trainees were in their cells, so they were in this group of 3. Each trainee were voted for individually, but eliminations happened based on the cell. It's really fucking convoluted, so I'm gonna give an example. Let's pretend here, this is Yujin, Hikaru, and Zhao. We're gonna pretend they're a cell, okay? During individual votes, Yujin gets 300 votes, Hikaru gets 50, and Zhao gets 3. This doesn't have, I'm not like, this is just an example, this isn't the votes they got, this isn't me, like, playing favorites or something, this is just a fucking example. Don't read too far into it, okay? So now this is our other cell. This is Dayon, Mashiro, and Bing. We're gonna say they're another cell. And during voting, Dayon gets 52, Mashiro gets 55, and Kaibing gets 50. These are the votes they got. I keep mispronouncing the Chinese trainees' names. I'm so sorry. I do not know Chinese. I'm just kidding. Please don't roast me for it. Okay, but so these are the individual votes that they all got. Like, however many people voted, and that many people voted for this person. Okay. If there were only 3 spots left on the show, only 1 cell can survive, and a cell had to be eliminated, this cell would be eliminated. All 3 of them got more votes than Zhao. These 2 got more votes than Hikaru, but the collective cell got more votes than this one. So this cell would survive, and this one would be eliminated, if that makes sense. It's super fucking convoluted. And then after this one's eliminated, everyone would be ranked by their individual based on who survived after that. So Zhao would probably be last, and they're ranked everyone away from the cells after that, okay? There are still individual ranks being kept track of. There are still some individual ranks being kept track of because people were voting for individual girls, but the eliminations and the group making for performances was done by cells. For episodes 9 and 11, the cells were gone, but the voting was the same, okay? So the cells broken up, but you still vote for 1 trainee per group. So instead of being ranked by cells, they were ranked and eliminated individually. So until episode 8, they're ranked in cells, and then after that, they're ranked individually. But the voting, you still vote for 1 in each group, okay? This, it's so fucking complicated. This was all up until the end of episode 12. Or up until episode 11. Yeah. This was all up until episode 11, and there are 12 episodes. So, after episode 11, they changed everything. Now you only vote for 1 trainee, which, okay, makes sense. There's only 18 left. They're trying to figure out the final group, so you vote for specifically who you want, except there is a catch. Korean votes counted for 50% more than foreign votes. So if you were voting from China or Japan, your vote was quite literally worth less than someone who lived in Korea. And it was a fucking mess, and it showed in the vote. I am going to just, like, I've got these are the standings here. I'm gonna go back to Little Haley again, just for ease of access. Little Haley, come back! We're gonna talk about these now, okay? After they broke up the cells, this is when you still have to vote for one person in each group. Okay, 56% of the Korean trainees were eliminated, and 44% of the Chinese trainees. None of the Korean trainees were eliminated, okay? So, we're talking about this green here, okay? Eliminated in the third elimination round, that's when things changed. That's when the cells were broken up. No Korean trainees were eliminated. 56% of the remaining Japanese trainees were eliminated, and 44% of the Chinese trainees were eliminated. And then, so that's after they broke up the cells. So you were still voting for one per group, but you were voting individually. So already, it was skewed against the foreign trainees. And then, after they changed the voting method, they released the interim voting after a special live, and the ratings changed dramatically. Like, you need to fucking see this. Okay, these are the rankings. Episode 2, we got Hikaru, Yeseo, Xiaoting, Ruchi, Jiyun, Youngun, Yujin, Bing, Ayana, okay? This is the week-by-week shit. Yurina, all of these, like, from episode 2 to episode 11, there's always a good handful of foreign trainees. Like, there's always at least, like, 3 Chinese, or C group. There's always at least 3 Japanese trainees. Episode 11, there's 4 Japanese trainees, there's only 2 Korean. Then they change. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Xiaoting fell to the bottom. That's what I'm saying. This is the special live. This is when the interim voting, after they changed the voting method. The rankings changed dramatically. All of it is Korean. Everyone went up. All the Koreans went up. I'm going to go back down here. Where is it? This is the special ranking right here. This one right here. Is my face in the way? Okay, this right here is the interim ranking. If you look, every single Korean trainee went up placements. Even Bora, who's 11th. Every single Korean trainee went up. And besides Richie, every single foreign trainee went down. Okay? Ridiculous. Every Korean trainee moved up spots. 4 of them moved up more than 8 spots. 3 of them made their first ever appearance in the top 9, which you see up here. Or this yellow color is New Planet top 9. So 3 of them is their first ever time in the entire competition being in the top 9. And after the rankings had been majority foreign for the entire competition, there was only 1 non-Korean trainee left in the top 9. This is fucking insane. I want to talk about Suyeon and Maya here in particular, because both of them at one point had been a Planet Pass save. We talked about the Planet Pass with Kotone, where, like, it's basically the judges saving people from elimination. It's basically the judges saying, okay, we have 3 spots left, we're gonna pick 3 people and save them from elimination. When it was in cells, and when the cells were split up, they saved 1 person, okay? Suyeon and Maya were both Planet Pass saves. Suyeon was saved during the cell round, so we're gonna pretend like she was doing fine in individual votes and her cell brought her down, so that's why they saved her. So we'll just put Suyeon to the side for now. We're gonna talk about Maya. Maya was gonna be eliminated in episode 11. This episode here. She did not have enough votes and was going to be eliminated. You're fucking telling me that in the span of 11 days, after being nearly eliminated, she shot up 10 spots and made her first appearance in the top 9. Like, some of these numbers can be explained by changing in the vote method, okay? And I'll talk about those too eventually. But this is why I go in conspiracy mode, because you can't fucking tell me that she shot that high out of absolutely nowhere. She was about to be eliminated. And she's in the top 9. Like I said, this section is more conspiracy theory than, like, I have hard facts, but, like, you can't tell me that's not sus. Bahia, yeah, I'm gonna get to Bahia later, don't worry. Imagine if Korean participants lost to another group on the Korean show. Yeah, it's just, this is so frustrating. Okay, I'm gonna... This is, like, pictures of the live. I do want to talk about the special live that they did too, because I think it's worth touching on. This was a live stream the top 18 did in between the 11th episode and the 12th episode. They talked and played games, from what I understand. This is cute. This is what they're all in their little jammies. And the interim voting was announced on this. It wasn't because of this, but it was announced on this. However, there was still time to vote after it, which I think is important to keep in mind. I think it's important to point out that not all of the foreign trainees spoke Korean fluently. They were all translated and had translators for the majority of the show, but it just doesn't sit right with me that they changed the voting system, did a live for mostly Korean audiences where the Korean trainees would be able to connect with audiences the most just because of the language barrier, and then the final lineup was so skewed with Korean trainees as opposed to the top 9s we'd seen prior. I just don't like it, because if you're a Korean person watching this and there are people who are speaking Korean and talking to you and interacting with you during this live, and there are some other people who maybe aren't as much, you're gonna feel more connected to the people who are talking to you, right? Which they basically are setting up the foreign trainees to fail. Also, this is from Reddit. I just thought it was funny. Okay, that's not an official thing. I just thought it was funny. We're going back to the stats now. Those interim voting results were, like, shocking. And I think they were shocking to audiences, too. Like, after they were shown, it's manipulation. That's what I'm saying. But after they were shown, like, the interim was shown, and then this is episode 12 before, like, right before episode 12. This was the ranking, and then this is the final ranking, but this is right before the finale. You can see the rankings starting to shift more because foreign fans realized that their vote was pretty much wasted voting for Korean trainees, so they switched to voting for their favorite foreign trainees. So basically, all the foreign voters realized that their vote was worth less. So any of, like, the Chinese people who were like, I like this Korean member, who were voting for that Korean member, they were like, oh, I shouldn't do that because they're basically guaranteed a spot. So I'm gonna focus my vote on someone who maybe needs it, like some of the more foreign trainees. So that's why you can see, like, Hikaru, Mashiro, Xiaoting, they're all going back up. And even some Korean fans started voting for foreign trainees just to, like, even things out. I just think that the voting system in general is incredibly flawed, and it's flawed on purpose. If they're gonna change how it worked, they needed to change it sooner than, like, a week before the last episode, because it would give viewers more time to realize how things were gonna shake out, and it would give the rankings more time to settle where they ought to be. And the fact that the Korean votes were weighted more is infuriating. I think one of the biggest reasons that this show ended so messily is because of that. You brought these foreign trainees here, made all these big claims about how this was going to be a real international group and how foreign fans could vote, but you made their vote worth less. The voting change wasn't publicized properly. They didn't explain it properly. I think they did that on purpose because they knew it would help them get the final lineup they wanted. This whole thing has been manipulation, but this is a manipulation of the highest order. That's what I'm saying! It drove me insane! How much worse does it get? Oh, you just wait! We're gonna get more and more into my conspiracy theories, and that's where it gets wild. I voted for Bora. I missed a couple of the votes, but when I did vote, I think I voted for Yanning and Ricci because they needed my help. But yeah, I don't think Mnet ever really wanted an international group. You know, they wanted just enough foreign trainees for brownie points so they could say it was an international group and be able to promote in those countries. But, like, look at how the Korean staff treated the Chinese trainees. There's xenophobia there, and so they didn't want more foreign trainees than they absolutely had to have. I think the most alarming drop, I think Ash pointed this out, the most alarming drop is Xiaoting here. She went down 15 spots. She was first place for weeks and then dropped 15 spots. It looks super sus, but I think that one can be explained to a point, so hear me out. Like I said, you had to vote for a trainee in every group initially, right? And so a lot of Korean fans despise the Chinese trainees, especially ones who made One China posts, because, you know, racism. Xiaoting didn't have any One China posts, and she had the visuals and the looks that a lot of Korean fans liked. So I think the mindset for a lot of Korean fans voting were like, well, if I have to vote for a Chinese trainee, I guess it'll be her. And so proportionately, especially with the weighting, she was on top because those Korean fans were all voting for her, and they were presumably voting for their favorite Korean trainees too, but there was more variety because they were all voting for different Korean trainees, whereas a lot of them were all voting for Xiaoting because she was their unproblematic fave, right? And then when they only had to vote for one trainee and none of them had to vote for Xiaoting anymore, they just didn't, and she dropped dramatically. That's why I think that happened. Like, I'm sure she had some foreign fans voting for her too, but I think the majority of people voting for her had been Korean, so the other foreign trainees didn't take as much as a hit. They still took a hit, but they didn't take as much of a hit as she did. Because the people voting for them were worth less now, but they were still getting votes, you know? And I think we can see the same thing happen to Mashiro too, which is here. I don't know. I might be... There we go. We can see it happening with Mashiro too, after the interim vote. Like, it's really fucked up, and they did not think this through at all, and you can imagine... Can you imagine the huge fucking confidence kick it must be to think you're doing so well, and to drop, like, 10 spots? Bahie is from Apex Company, yeah. Probably in the... Yeah, Playam's got a lot on their plate, but honestly, she might leave and go somewhere else. So that's why I think a lot of those big drops happened. It doesn't make me okay with them, though. What I will say, though, is look at Ricci. She is the only foreign trainee whose placement went up after interim voting check, and I think that's just a testament to how fucking loved she was. Like, the people voting for her got less of a say, and she was still getting mad points. I guarantee if things were weighted fairly, she'd be in the final group. Like, I guarantee it. Because she was the only foreign trainee who went up. That's the interim. I'm gonna talk about some more shady shit here. Hold on. Okay. Now we're getting into stuff that's more just, like, pure conspiracy theory shit, okay? So this is just my brain running wild. Take it with a grain of salt. It's all alleged. This is all the headcanon fanfiction stuff that you... Just don't take it seriously. I don't want to get sued. I think Chuang Tushu is top 20. Yeah, people love Ricci. If it was weighted fairly, she'd be in the final group, okay? Okay. Conspiracy theory shit. I want to talk about Kim Chae-hyun first. She's the one who ended up winning Girls Project, okay? Chae-hyun is an ex-SM trainee. SM is one of, if not the biggest agencies in K-pop. You've definitely heard of one of their groups, even if you're not into K-pop. Girls' Generation, Super Junior, EXO, Red Velvet, they have a dance that went big on TikTok recently. SHINee, NCT, aespa is one of the big ones. Like, they're a big deal. This is one of the biggest companies, like, entertainment companies, management companies in the country. Chae-hyun trained there and is friends with members of aespa, which is their most recent group. They debuted this year. It's pretty likely that she was considered for aespa's lineup at some point. Put a pin in that. This is a really... Oh, baby, thank you for the 100 bits. That's really kind of you. You did not have to do that. Okay, this slide is really... I know it's all over the place, okay? I'll explain through everything. Of course I've heard of them. Listen, I'm not explaining for you, okay? Not all of my viewers watch K-pop. This is for everyone. Like, I think Ash is here in chat. I don't think Ash is big into K-pop. We'll say I'm explaining for Ash. We'll say I'm explaining for Ash. I'd rather see Maya out and Ruchi and Bai. Yeah, I don't know. The lineup would be a lot different if I would have made it. But okay. So Kim Chae-hyun, this is her here. Now, she is a trainee at Wake One, okay? Wake One Entertainment. Wake One manages TO1. They came from another Mnet show, okay? Mnet, technically the show was run by Stone Music, not Mnet, but both of them are subsidiary of CJ&M. So, like, same shit. Wake One manages a survival show group named TO1, okay? They came from an Mnet survival show. They used to manage Promise 9, which came from Idol School, an Mnet show. They used to manage IZ*ONE, which is the Produce 48 group, Mnet survival show. They now are gonna manage Kep1er, which is the group that's made up of the top 9 from Girls Planet 999, which is this show, which is sus as fuck. Chaehyun is signed to the company that Mnet contracted out to run Girls Planet Group. However, it is so much worse than that. Wake One isn't contracted by CJ They're a subsidiary of CJ&M, which is a giant media conglomerate that owns Mnet. She is quite literally signed to the same company as Mnet. Oh yeah, Frama's moved recently, right? Like right before their Talk and Talk comeback. Like that's why it came out of nowhere, because they have a new management. Yeah, so she's signed to the company. That's okay, and with how long Girls Planet had to have been in production for it to have launched when it did, there's no way the show wasn't being planned and conceptualized when Chaehyun was signed to Wake One. It's a tight timeline. All I'm fucking saying is that you have a pretty freshly free agent, XSM trainee, who is likely going to be in one of the biggest rookie groups in the world, aespa, signed not too long after her release to a CJ subsidiary, shortly after that going on Girls Planet. And then, I need to show you this, because we didn't go over it. Where is it? And then, after barely being in the top 9, all competition, out of nowhere, she snags number 1 and wins the whole show. I don't fucking know, it's just so sus to me, even with the vote change. Okay? It's just fucked up, okay? Especially with Mnet's history. We talked before about Lee Hae-in was pressured into signing to CJ&M before Idol School, with them implying it would help her chances. We talked about that when we were talking about Idol School and the voting fraud, okay? They were like pressuring this girl into signing so she would get to audition for Idol School. This happens on other shows too. Down here, this is from Unpretty Rap Star Season 2, okay? I was a big fan of Unpretty Rap Star when it was airing. It was basically a rap competition show, and in Season 2, there was one contestant, Trudy. She was being set up to win. It was so fucking obvious. She would get special edits. People praised her lyricism despite her recycling the same lyrics. She was literally there in fucking blackface, basically. She was trying so hard to be Yoon Mi-rae, who is a half-black woman, but Trudy's full Korean. She was cosplaying as a black woman, basically, and trying to make her voice sound like this black woman. People, like I said, people praised her lyricism. She used the same lyrics every time. I don't know why they praised her. They manufactured a drama plotline where Yezi pushed her, despite the footage literally not even showing that. She, like, nudged her, barely, a little, because she was trying to get in Yezi's face, and Yezi wanted her space. Her featured artists on songs would literally be fucking famous household names. So, this, on Pretty Rap Star, there was like a head-to-head semifinal, and whoever won this head-to-head would go into the final and, like, try and be the winner of the show. So, it was Yezi versus Trudy. Trudy's featured artist on that song was Tiffany's from Girls' Generation. Girls' Generation, one of the biggest girl groups in the world. Tiffany, very popular. Yezi, her featured artist, was Hanhae, who's an underground rapper. He was big on Show Me the Money, but in the grand scheme of things, not huge. If you were in that audience voting, would you vote for the rapper who had Tiffany on their side, or the rapper that had Hanhae on their side? Basically, all I'm saying is it was fucking rigged for Trudy, and they set it all up. And then it turned out that Trudy had signed to Mnet before the show, which it says here, this is from Wikipedia, Trudy, winner, signed with Mnet before the show. I apologize, I'm a Trudy auntie. If you're not a Trudy auntie, you're not welcome in my chat. That's all I have to say. We're all Trudy aunties here. So this happened in another MMO show, and that's not it either. In season 2 of Produce 101, Kang Daniel and Yoon Ji-sung, both finalists, both ended up in 101. They were signed to MMO Entertainment, which was a CG&M subsidiary. You can see here, it says Wake One Entertainment, formerly known as MMO Entertainment. They were signed to MMO, which is under CG&M. They were signed to Mnet. During Produce 48, Yuri, right here, signed to Stone Music, which used to be a MMO. It says down here, they closed down and established into Wake 1. It's now Wake 1. I literally can't make this shit up, man. I literally can't make this shit up. Mnet has a history of doing this. Like, again, this is all just speculation, but it feels like a scam. And at the very least, if I'm being incredibly generous, it's a huge conflict of interest. CGE&M should not be able to put CGE&M trainees on a CJE&M competition show. Okay? Like, that's what all of these are. It's just laying out. It's the people who won, multiple people who have won multiple Mnet shows were signed to Mnet agencies. They really made MMO sound like it's something separate. They did it with all these things, but they're all owned by the same company. The Produce thing was proven rigged. We already talked about that. You missed that. We've already gone through that. We've already talked about that. You missed the context, King. I'm just backing up my theories so I can tell you why I believe them. There has been other shady stuff that's popped up too. Two of the finalists of Girls Planet, Mashiro and Yaso, are both signed to 143 Entertainment. 143 Entertainment is a tiny company. They are allegedly established in June 2021. They have no artists. They're pretty new, all things considered. And they answer DMs on Instagram. That's how small they are. Do you know how out of the ordinary it is for, like, a fucking management company to answer fans on Instagram? I got some screenshots of someone talking to this company on Instagram. This tiny fucking company that no one had ever heard of ended up with 2 trainees in the final group. I'm not saying anything, just that it's weird as fuck. Do you know how low of a chance there is statistically of that happening? Plus, we know that auditions were happening in January 2021. If the information about them being established in June 2021 is right, that means Yaso and Mashiro were both picked for the show before signing with that label. So either someone is fucking lying, or an unknown company conveniently signed 2 trainees who ended up in the top 9. It's just weird as fuck, okay? There's just there's so much really shady things that just keep popping up, okay? It's just, now you guys see why I did such a long Twitter thread on, it just doesn't make sense. It's very sus. Next, okay, I want to talk about Huening Bahie. She's one of the more high-profile trainees because she's the younger sister of Huening Kai, which is this guy. Basically, y'all know BTS, right, okay? You know the crazy fandom around BTS and how dedicated people are to them. So BTS's company has another group called TXT. You can see both BTS and TXT in this picture together. They took a company picture. TXT has a pretty big fandom of its own, and also, like, in K-pop, there are people who, like, are fans of companies. So if I say I'm a YG stan, that means I'm a fan of Treasure, I'm a fan of Big Bang, I'm a fan of Blackpink. This is, like, a common thing. So there are people who are going to be HYBE entertainment fans rather than just TXT or BTS fans. Like, they've got a lot of fans, okay? And so Bahie is Kai's younger sister. Bahie wasn't the most popular on the show until the end, I'd say. Like, I will go back to the stats. I'd say she's mostly just notable. Like, people know who she was, but she kind of hovered around 15th place for the most part. Like, if we go here, episode 11, 13th, episode 9, 13th, episode 8, 24th, she almost got eliminated. And then this is just the cell rank. But yeah, she was kind of hovering, like, she wasn't by any means a top trainee for the most of the competition. She kind of hovered around 15th place for most of the competition until the interim vote, where she shot up 8 spaces and made her first appearance in the top 9. She ended up taking 2nd place. Her rise was one of the more sus ones, in my opinion. So, when voting for these shows, you can only vote once per device, right? So people in the past have, like, gotten their family and friends to vote for people they like sometimes. to help out, and sometimes people have even bought extra devices for past shows to vote multiple times, which, like, bro, I fucking wish I had cash. You just buy an extra iPhone to vote for someone. Okay, we can see it here, but there was a fan site. This is alleged. I'd only heard about it. This is the only screenshot I've seen, but, like, a lot of people are talking about it. A large portion of the Girls Planet viewer community did see more, from what I understand, but there was a fan site that was encouraging people to buy extra SIM cards so they could vote for Bahie. I wish this sounded insane to me, but, like, it doesn't, because I know how dedicated and insane HYBE, BTS, and TXT fans can be. Like, I say that with respect, good on you, but, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. So there's a big controversy that people were buying SIM cards so they could vote for her more. Bahie, to me, didn't have a natural rise, you know? Like, looking at the weekly numbers and rankings, if we go back, like, Daeyeon, because of the editing, and Yoojin, because, like, I think Daeyeon and Yoojin were pretty much guaranteed to debut. Yeso and Youngun, I can see it happening, like, based on all their numbers. I can see Yeso and Youngun making the final group. I can see it, okay? They were always in ballpark. Even Chaehyun, I can make a case for. I can make a case for Chaehyun being in the final group. Her being number one is mad sus, and I can't make sense of that, and that's, conspiracy theory around that, but, like, Chaehyun being in the final group, I understand that. All of them had either been in the top 9 the entire time, like Yoojin, or floating around nearby, poking in and out, but Bahie didn't break the top 13 until the interim vote. Like, I really don't want people to hate on her, specifically. People are being awful to her. She's getting death threats. She doesn't deserve that. This is not her fault. This isn't me digging on her either. More the people who are allegedly buying SIM cards to vote for her, and Mnet for manipulating all this, okay? It's just another thread in this messy-ass story, but oh my god, is it ever messy. SIM cards are pretty cheap. Yeah, like, they're not expensive, but, like, the fact that people did it is, like, nuts. Okay, some closing thoughts. Yeah, Yoojin was gonna debut. I mean, I wouldn't even say that she would easily debut, because we all thought that Gan was gonna easily debut and produce 48, and she didn't. And, like, that was manipulated, but still. But I think most people thought, like, knew Yoojin would debut. Okay. Some of my closing thoughts is I'm still gonna be talking for a bit, but we're in the closing stretch, okay? This has been a wild ride, but I have some thoughts. I think this is probably almost exactly the lineup that Mnet envisioned for their final group, or pretty damn close, okay? K-pop is more popular in Japan than it is in China. I don't think it's a coincidence that their perfectly orchestrated final lineup has 2 Japanese trainees and 1 Chinese trainee. Nor am I really surprised about the edits the Chinese and Japanese trainees got, and the lack of screen time comparatively either. They pushed the Chinese trainees enough just to get enough... I'm gonna restart that sentence. They pushed the Chinese trainees just enough to get one in their final lineup, so they could just justify the premise of the show, and so they could promote China, or promote in China, without having more than one in the group, despite the international popularity of Bing and Richie specifically. Thank you for the hydrate. I do think it's especially interesting to point out that C Group was made out of Chinese, Taiwanese, and Hong Konger trainees, but only Chinese trainees made it anywhere near the top 9. The highest the others ever got was Chen Xinwei, who got 18th in episode 8. The most widely discussed reason for Korean voters not to vote for C Group was the One China stances, yet the Taiwanese and Hong Kong trainees, who that policy directly affects, got snubbed. This is mad conspiracy theory shit, okay? But you can't tell me some of that wasn't Mnet ensuring their C Group finalists was Chinese so they could ensure no one pissed off China. I talked about Shuhua and Zuyu either, and the Zuyu situation especially is what I think of when I consider this. Zuyu was proudly Taiwanese and was made to apologize for that so JYP and TWICE wouldn't face financial wrath of China. Mnet, in my opinion, wanted to avoid the possibility of that happening altogether. In my opinion. Especially because Xinwei seemed well-liked to me, and Xia Yi, who we talked about before, had a literal fandom behind her. Like, I guess I think it's intentional. I think that they purposely made sure they had a Chinese trainee instead of a Taiwanese or Hong Kong trainee, because they didn't want a Tsuyu situation to happen. which y'all missed the context, but that was in the context part, so I guess you gotta rewind and watch that part in the VOD. I don't know. I'm kidding. I don't think it's a coincidence that two of the foreign trainees that made it were Zhao and Mashiro, which this is Mashiro pre-debut and this is Zhao. Hikaru is a wild card to me. Here, I'll show the lineup. I didn't mean to do that. I'll show the final lineup, but final lineup, these were the Korean trainees. The only Chinese trainee who made it to the final lineup was Zhao Ting. The only J group ones were Hikaru and Mashiro. So, Hikaru is a bit of a wild card to me. I think people just genuinely found her likable, but with Zhao Ting and Mashiro, I can see the puppet strings, okay? Vivi, you're on the same brainwave as me. Mashiro has lived in Korea a long time. She trained at JYP with ITZY and was fluent in Korean. Like, she's been a trainee for, like, fucking 10 years in Korea, okay? Like, there was a joke in the fandom that they're like, are we sure that Mashiro's actually Japanese? I think she's Korean, because that's how good her Korean was. Like, people would joke about it all the time. If you were Mnet and were as allegedly xenophobic as I believe they were, would you not want one of your foreign trainees to basically be passable as Korean? That's such a fucked up thought and concept, but you see what I'm saying, right? Like, the more the foreign trainees fit in with the Korean lineup and the Korean ideal, the better in Mnet's eyes, because they're fucking racist. In my opinion. In my opinion. Like, I don't think it was coincidence that one of the two Japanese trainees was Mashiro. And even if we weren't looking nefariously at it, which I am because I'm a conspiracy theorist, but even if we're, like, pretending like it's not conspiracy, to Korean voters whose votes were weighted higher, they probably felt more connected to the Japanese trainee who talked like them. Which I think once again highlights how stupid the vote weighting was and, like, the xenophobia that Kay talked about when I talked to her. The deck was stacked against J and C groups from the jump. Sounds intentional. Oh, it was absolutely intentional. As for Zhao Ting, I said before, I don't think they wanted a Taiwanese or Hong Kong trainee in Kepler because they didn't want a Suyu situation. Zhao Ting was a talented Chinese trainee who had no controversial One China post that anyone could lambaste her for, and who really fit in with the Korean visual standards and ideals. If they had a Chinese trainee in their final lineup, this was the one they wanted. Next, I personally do think Yurina was meant to be in the final group over Hikaru, if I'm keeping my conspiracy theory hat on. It's nothing against Yurina, but if my theory is right, fuck Mnet, I'm glad Hikaru made it. But there are rumors that Yurina's family is rich and paid for Yurina to get screen time to do well. I think that this picture is funny because it's one of the ones that people use as evidence that she's rich, because they're all like, golf is for rich people, which is hilarious. There's more reasons why people think she's rich, but I just think that's one's fucking hilarious. But anyway, people think that her family's rich and paid for her to get screen time, and I do think that she was supposed to be in the final group, and, like, maybe it just didn't shake out that way. I don't know how valid that is, but I can see how the Korean public would really like Yurina. She has that visual status that Zhao Ting had. Though, also, that's purely speculation, because maybe Hikaru was supposed to make it. She's, like, a really good rapper. Like, there's compilations that are just named Hikaru giving YG vibes for 10 minutes straight, and she was the center for the theme song. Like, you can see her here. The theme song, she was the center for it. So, in that respect, they were pushing her from the jump. I can see her being intentionally in the final group too. She was the one that was more of a wild card to me versus Zhao Ting and Mashiro, where it was way more obvious for me. Laugh about, have you seen what company Diane is with? I forget, but I'm sure I have. Let's look. Kim Da-yeon. Oh yeah, Jellyfish. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me too much, to be honest. And that has their favorites! But yeah, all in all, I think this show is rigged. Not in the way past shows were, like where it's like a federal crime, where that needs to be, where there's indictments, but they manipulated the vote in ways that they couldn't be prosecuted for. I have my own conspiracy theories, of course. That's mostly just fun and me letting my imagination go wild. But if I strip that away, I can recognize that Mnet had to be really careful this time. What with the media attention and their vote manipulation scandal. God, that didn't make any sense. That sentence didn't make any sense. Hold on, let me try that again. All in all, I think this show is rigged. Not in the way past shows were, though. I have my own conspiracy theories, and that's mostly just fun and me letting my imagination go wild. But if I strip that away, I can recognize that Mnet had to be really careful this time. What with the media attention and their vote manipulation scandal blowing up. Most of me genuinely doesn't believe that they did anything illegal, but, like, that's only most of me. Some of me does think they did some illegal shit, but that's all a legend, and that's just me being a conspiracy theorist. They rigged it in other ways. They manipulated the vote in ways that they couldn't be prosecuted for. From the vote weighting to the editing, they did everything they could to lead voters to pick who they wanted them to pick. And I think that's a real shame. It leaves a really bad taste in my mouth. It's a reality show, so I guess we should expect a certain level of producers pulling strings, but this just feels so sleazy when it happens on a show like this. Like, let me explain myself for a second. Shows like RuPaul's Drag Race, for example, are rigged. Or they're highly dramatized. They're competitive and there's a real winner, but producers lead storylines we see on television. They give certain queens certain parts in musicals, pick lip sync songs based on who's in the final two. It's manipulated. However, every queen that steps on that show is made. Even if they're the villain, even if they get thousands, even millions of... even if they're the villain, they get thousands, even millions of new fans. All of them get put on world's tours and get more bookings. Even if you're eliminated first on Drag Race, you essentially now have a career given to you that you can survive off of. That sort of thing doesn't happen on survival shows, okay? None of them are guaranteed anything. More than half the trainees from the first Produce 101 series haven't been seen since. Just being on the show doesn't give them a boost, nor does it give any future hypothetical group they debut in a boost either. These girls on this show are fighting for their careers. When a producer gives them a fucked up edit, it sticks. It affects their ability to sign with new companies. It affects how people sees them and treats them when they do debut, if they do debut. Like, it's just so much more real and there are real world consequences to fucking with their lives like this. These producers hold the careers of these girls in the palm of their hands, and all the while they're treating them inhumanely behind the scenes. These girls are being starved, exhausted, and berated, and they're sticking through it just for the chance of living their dream. And even then, they're not being given a fair shot. I did the math, we could see it here. From the first season, only 6% of the competitors are successful idols. And by successful, I mean they have music show wins and end of the year awards wins and stuff like that. Okay? 24% have debuted and are still active, but are performing below average or mediocrely. 32% debuted, but have either gone inactive or fully disbanded, and 38% haven't debuted at all. They're either training or gave up and went to go work somewhere else. This is what I'm saying. 60% of those original 101 trainees have basically floundered. This show isn't making careers for anyone except for a select few. And I'd argue those select few probably would have been successful regardless of the show. Like, let's just look at this that I did. I went through and I looked at every single Produce 101 trainee, and I was like, where are they now? What are they doing now? And I put them in 4 categories. Either they've disappeared, or quit training and pursued something else. They're debuted, but they're inactive or disbanded. They debuted, but they got like a meh reaction, or they're successful, which I said at least 1 music show win, or at least a rookie award, or something, okay? There are 6 Produce 101 success stories. Sihyun with Everglow, Soyeon with Idol and her solo work She Got a Win with Windy, Yeonjung from Uju Sonya, Chungha, Sejong as a soloist not with Gugudan, and Somi. Okay? Of that 6%, I think Somi and Soyeon would have been successful regardless. Somi is white passing and was at JYP and now at YG. She had it made. She was gonna be fine. Soyeon is with Cube, which gives her an advantage because Cube's pretty big, and I attribute most of her success to Unpretty Rap Star versus Produce 101. It definitely gave her a bit of a boost, but Unpretty Rap Star is where she really solidified herself, okay? Sihyun benefited more from Produce 48 than she did Produce 101, so the point is moot there. Uju Sonya only barely made this top percentage because of their few wins recently, but they've been struggling until then. Like, there was a long time where they weren't that successful, so I do not think Produce 101 gave them and Yeonjung a boost. I think the only careers Produce 101 made were Chungya and Sejong's. I think you could argue for Somi too, but I do not think she would have blown up regardless. You could argue for Somi too, but I think she would have blown up regardless, just maybe in a group, not as a soloist, okay? For legal reasons, that's no. Oh, I'm gonna actually fight them. I'm gonna fight all of them. 4 of the trainees that were under CNC back during Produce all Kim Dae-yeon was in Produce 48, whichever. Yeah, I saw that too. There's a lot of repeats. I mean, Doa was another one. But yeah, so this is only Produce 101. I think the other seasons are too recent to really be able to see these trends, but this is what I'm saying. Their careers aren't made because of being on this show, like other people on reality TV. Like, if you talk about, like, reality TV, like, fucking Love Island or whatever, people blow up on Instagram, they get all those deals. The Bachelor contestants, like, their careers are kind of made just being, like, influencers, okay? The same thing doesn't happen with Produce 101 contestants. Which is why when the show rigs it and manipulates it like this, it makes me so much more angry because they're fucking with these people's lives. Chungha's success is insane, but also because she found the right company. Yeah, but if she would not have been in IOI and been popular because of that, I don't think she would be as big as she is now. Because even her first couple debut songs weren't as popular as, like, her more recent ones. But people paid attention because she was from IOI, and then because people were paying attention, her really good songs blew up a lot. I think she's one of the few who's... Yeah, she wouldn't be huge without IOI and without Produce. Yu Jung from Lightsum. Yep. There's 3 Lightsum members who are on Produce 48, I believe. Yeah, no, her company was smart about the IOI hype, which a lot of other ones weren't. I don't know. There's no happy ending or conclusion. I think it's just sad, and I hope all 99 girls find what makes them happy and is successful in that. It's just really frustrating. I want to thank... I'm not done yet, but I just want to thank Teriyaki Kamikaze on YouTube. I watched the show, but I wasn't, like, super into the fandom, and, like, I didn't rewatch it a bunch of times, so his channel helped me with a lot of context stuff. Also, Tinted Peach on Twitch are in chat, and also Imitation Angel on Twitch. They help me with the Chinese and foreign idols and K-pop context. I really appreciate that. But that's the end of the research, but I do want to talk a little bit more. This is beyond the essay now, but I do think it's super interesting that the ones that they picked from the final 9 weren't in any groups. Like, Yujin was in CLC, but CLC disbanded. Yeso was in Busters, but, like, left. She's not in Busters anymore. All the other top 9 were just normal trainees, and I think that's super interesting because in the rigging discussion, part of why those producers rigged stuff was allegedly to keep out as many contestants in groups as possible from their groups. Like, they didn't want people who were already debuted in groups to be in their groups. And I mean, fuck the rigging, but I kind of get it, because back in the IOI days, there was a looser contract, so members of IOI were debuting with their companies in new groups while IOI was promoting. I know Gugudan for sure debuted right in the middle of IOI's lifespan, so basically 2 members of IOI, which was the Produce 101 group, debuted at their home company in a permanent group while IOI was still alive, and that fucked with it. Like, they couldn't promote both at once, so it brought them away from IOI, and that fucked with CJ E&M's money, right? So, 101, iZone, and X1, they all had clauses in the contract that they couldn't debut or promote with their other groups until that contract was up. CLC's waiting until their contract is out. Yujin has straight up said that Cube isn't promoting them anymore and that they need to pursue solo activities. Isle the Coup is nice? Maybe. Hi, Lily! How are you? Nice new name. Cube isn't really promoting them anymore. That's basically... Yeah. I think I mentioned that too, but yeah, Yujin has straight up said that Cube's not promoting them anymore. Okay. 101 is one, and X1 all had very few members who had already debuted, and if they were in groups that were debuted, their groups were either disbanded or long inactive, Or in the case of Sakura, Hitomi, and Nako, they were in HKT48 and AKB48, which are giant groups that have lineup changes all the times, and we're fine without them. Like, them not being present for AKB48 promotions wasn't a big deal. They could just, like, leave it behind. Leave it like, thanks, Lily, I appreciate that. And I want to now look at the trainees from Girls Planet. There was a lot of trainees that were really widely loved, or, like, didn't make it, even though they were loved a lot, or in the case, or like they got really bad edits, or they got no screen time at all. I want to talk about some of them, because I do think some of them had the chance to make it, especially because they had a fandom behind them, but I think, like, intentionally were left out because CJNM and Mnet didn't want those two groups to be promoting against each other. Yeah, so Mei, Bora, and G1, especially Bora, the members of Cherry Bullet, I think Bora had a chance to make it, but, like, they kind of fucked her over a little bit, and, like, yeah, she's in a group. Doa and Chiayi, and to a lesser extent Nayeon. Nayeon just didn't get any fucking screen time, but Doa and Chiayi, I think, were probably held back, because Doa especially, she almost made IZ*ONE. Like, she was really big in IZ*ONE, and the fact that she performed worse in this one than she did in she performed worse in Girls Planet than she did in Produce 48, which, if you see anyone else who has been in multiple Produce, like Minji from Secret Number, she was in Produce 101 and Produce 48, Sihan from Everglow, anyone who's been in multiple Produces, they've all been, like, they've all improved on their previous appearance. I'm literally talking about Doa Alyssa. I'm literally just, like, that's who I'm talking about. But yeah, the fact that she did worse than her Produce 48, I think that's sus. They always go up on their previous rankings. Sungin from Bandit, she didn't get any, that one I think is criminal. She got eliminated the first round because she didn't get, like, any screen time or any real good edit. I think that's intentional, because she's in a group, and Mnet didn't want that conflict of interest. Chai Bing is a member of KS Girls in China. Chen Xinwei is about to debut in China in a group called Daylight. Huang Xingqiao, fuck me, is a soloist in China. Richie is a member of Chic Chili in China. Holy fuck, there's so many ch sounds. Wen Jie is a member of Hickey in China. Rhoda Zhu is a soloist in China. All of these people were either very widely loved and didn't make the final group somehow despite that, or, like, didn't get any screen time. And Rhoda Zhu is a special case because she dropped out, like, she left the show of her own accord because of health issues, but I still think I just think it's interesting, okay? I'm not saying anything, this is all alleged, but I do think it's interesting. There are probably more I'm forgetting, but my point is made, I just think it's interesting. But that is all I have, really. It's sus as fuck. Girls Planet will probably boost their popularity. Honestly, I doubt it. Because, like I've said, none of these shows have ever done anything to boost careers. They've not made it, like, very few trainees who have appeared on these shows get boosts because of those shows. I've already seen it. I'm a very big fan of dancers, and Shin Eun-kyung is a big one. I've already seen the dance team version of Snake. I'm subscribed to the channel. What was I saying? They won't get much hype on it except for a small... Yes, if that were true, they would already have hype, because many of them were on produced shows. You know? Doa was already on Produce 48. Like, if we... Let's... Produce 48 contestants. I'll show, like... let's... Where's Doa? Right here. Kim Doa. 23rd. If these shows gave hype to the debuted groups, then Doa's group would have had hype. But if you, like... Here. Fanatics. Sunday. This is... Thank you, Philip DeBranco. Like, if we look... Their debut has been out for 2 years and it only has 1 million views. Which is, like, okay. It's pretty big. Like, 1 million views is nothing to sneeze at. But, like... in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot. Like, I don't think any of them are gonna do... I don't think it's gonna help them as much as you're inferring it will. Thank you for the lurk, Ash. Thank you for hanging out. I really appreciate it. But yeah. So that's... Like I said, this has been weighing on my mind for a long time. For like a couple weeks now, because I just like... I keep thinking about it. I keep seeing how this stuff has been manipulated, and it just weighs on my little brain. The issue with Fantasy Last... I mean, yeah. However, I pointed out their debut. That wasn't that was their first song. That was their debut. They have other issues too, like... I talked about that at the start. It's more so just an example that, yeah, what BB is saying, like... Just being on this show doesn't give you hype. Because even if you look at, like, Secret Number, for an example, they're doing really well, but it's not because of Jinny. They're doing really well because Dita's Indonesian, and the Indonesian K-pop fans have rallied around her. Gugudan, for example, Gugudan had 2 IOI members in it. And they didn't do well. They fizzled. Like, just being on the show isn't gonna get you hype. And that's what I'm saying is, like, having Mnet manipulate it this much, these girls are fighting for their lives, because the only way they're gonna get hype from being on this show is if they're in the final group. Yeah, I talked about Minji already. Yeah, she was MN and H, I think. Not MN and H. She was MN and then a bunch of numbers, and she was gonna debut with that group, but then that group never debuted, but... Yeah, I talked about Minji. I forgot what I was talking about. Yeah. The only way that you're gonna get hype for being on this show is being in the final group, and that's only when you're in the final group. What kills me is these girls go on stage and are crying, and Mnet just rigs them. That's what I'm saying, this means so much to them, and I think all of them to a certain extent know that the only way they're gonna get success, like big success from this show, is if they make the finals. So, like, that's what I'm saying, they're fighting for their life on this show. And Mnet just rigs it and manipulates it and makes some of them looks like shit people. Like, Hachanmi, she just debuted as a soloist. People hated her for years because she was edited to be whiny on Produce 101. Like, she's still got that stigma. Like, if you do well but don't win on a Produce show, it doesn't do anything. But if you're edited badly on a Produce show, that shit's gonna follow you, you know? It's just really frustrating. But yeah. Yeah, okay. I think I'm gonna edit this down after today. I'm gonna edit this down and put it on YouTube as like an actual video essay. And any like resources I used, I'm gonna put in the description. I'm gonna link it. And I wanna do more lives like this, because this is really fun. Being able to talk about something I know a lot about and have been thinking about a lot about. And like... being able to have that conversation and like show everyone. I want to do more like video essay type streams, so I think I'm gonna do more. Yeah, and like I said before, like I'm not the foremost expert, and mostly this is all just for fun. It's not to be taken seriously. I'm not shitting on any of these girls. I'm mostly just shitting on Mnet. But yeah, it was really fun to do this. I don't know if it's true or not, but Yanning's situation kind of creates this of like, producers suggesting contestants do shit that's negative and Chen for screen time. Well, I know the Somi thing, like I can show you. Hold on, I'm gonna do this over here so you don't see my watch later if it's potentially embarrassing, but I know this is in my watch later. We're gonna watch this. Am I in small mode? I'm in small mode, okay. Let's just watch this, okay?
I came here to tell you all about what happened that day. I think you guys are all wanting me to have a big issue, but to be honest, I had no issue at all. Okay, I told the director, I'm going to act like I'm going to be mad, so please put it in the preview or something because it's going to grab attention. So he was like, okay, go on. So it was a whole act. Like, I acted out. I had no fights at all. Like, it was just me doing that all by myself. And Loen Park Soo-yeon was like pulling me backwards just to make it intense. Nothing really happened that day. It was just me with my own show going on. So
That's what I'm saying, though. She literally just said it. Like, it's manipulated. So when people started shooting so hard on Yeoning, I was like, me and Jackson were literally talking about it. It's like, oh, is this baby's first Mnet show? Like, that shit was so scripted to me, okay? Like, I don't know. And it turned out to be scripted, so I was right. It's just like... And now, I don't know if Yeoning even wants to debut in Korea, or if she just went on this show because, like, it was an opportunity to get herself out there. But if she ever did want to debut in Korea, I don't think she'd be able to. Because people are gonna have that lasting impression of her. I'm also sad about Kim Soo-yeon not making it, since Mystic just debuted a girl group and she isn't in it. I mean, that group has been being teased for literally, like, not 2 years, like at least a solid year though. Like, I'm a huge fan of Moon Soo-ah. Like I said, I really liked Unpretty Rap Star, so I've been following Moon Soo-ah for a long time. And so as soon as that Mystic story, I'm gonna change my cam back to Big Cam. Big Haley's back. Hi, it's Big Haley. Yeah, so as soon as Mystic story, like Mystic Rookies made an account, I was following it, and that was like a year ago. If she was gonna be in that group, she would have been in that group already. You know? No one knew the full lineup until recently. We kinda did, though. Like, the lineup that's there now, save for 2 members that got swapped in after 2 other ones left, and that happened 6 months ago. The switch happened. Siyun left, and one of the Japanese trainees left, and 2 more got added. That happened 6 months ago. So the lineup, as it is now, everyone did know it 6 months ago. Like, if she was gonna be in that group, she would have been announced in that group already. I don't think she was ever gonna be in that group. I hope she can, like, find another group, but I don't think she was gonna be in that group. Suki, they've had a page on K-profiles for like a year. Yeah, well, their Mystic story, they posted profiles for all the trainees that they were gonna be in this future group a year ago, and then 2 of them left, and they replaced them immediately, and that was like 5 or 6 months ago, which was before Girls Planet. I don't know what to think about their debut song. I really liked it. I thought it was really cool. It's different, but, like, that's good, because I don't like when everything sounds the same. It's just, like, it doesn't have, like, as much of a impactful chorus as a lot of other K-pop songs. Like, K-pop is very loud, and intense, so the choruses are usually really intense, whereas what I think a lot of issues people are having with Ring X Ring or Ring by Ring, I don't know how you're supposed to say it, is that the chorus, it doesn't go from here to here, it goes from here to here. But I still think is really dynamic and really good. And the B-sides are really good too. I gotta go listen now! It's good, I suggest it. I really liked both their songs. That they performed that one, and they performed one of their B-sides on Mnet yesterday, and they're both really fucking good. Yeah. That's all I had prepared for today, but I'm glad I got it off my chest. And I'm glad people, like, sat around and were engaged with it and enjoyed it. That makes me happy, because I put a lot of work into it, and I was, like, worried because it's so different than what I usually do. I was worried that no one would hang around and watch it. But people did. And, like, I was also worried that no one would give a shit, because this is such, like, a niche interest thing. But, like, people who didn't know still hung out and listened, so, like, I don't know. It made me happy. I'm definitely gonna do more stuff like this. I've been thinking of, like, doing one about, like, Apex lore, maybe. Like, a big video essay about Apex lore, or maybe Luna lore, or maybe something else will come out that I want to talk about, but I really like this format, because, like, if anyone knows me, they know I like to talk, and also I'm autistic, so I have a lot of hyperfixations. So I like to talk about the stuff I really like. Please do Apex lore! Okay, I will. That'll be the next one. I'm happy that Luboon made a comeback. Me too. Good for them, honestly. It's been a while for them. Yeah. I just really like talking to people. And I'm gonna come back to streaming more often, I think, in general. Like, I've been really overwhelmed by midterms, so I haven't been streaming a ton, but I want to slowly come back to streaming more and more, because I miss streaming, and I miss talking to people, and I miss having an income. Ignore that part. But, you know, So if you're watching this on YouTube after I edit it, come follow my Twitch. Anyway. But yeah. Yeah, I miss streaming, so I'm gonna do more game streams, but also just like talking like this, because I've always wanted to do just chatting streams, but I don't think I have like enough of an audience to really do a pure just chatting stream. Like, not enough people are here consistently. I don't think I could hold a conversation, and it would just be me talking to myself, and I feel like that would just be really awkward. Whereas if there's like an essay format, I can just talk about all of it. I could head to the practice room. I mean, practice makes perfect. But yeah, I think that's all. Maybe I should find someone to raid. Let's see who's online. The way that I have like 9 viewers right now, I thought I was gonna have 1 and it was gonna be BB. No, I was gonna have 2 and one of them would be my bot and it'd be BB. No leaving yet? Well, I don't have anything else to talk about. Oh, true, at 9 a.m.? What the fuck you doing up? Especially, aren't you in school? Aren't you a student? Do you say you were a student? You should be going to school, maybe. I don't know. Who's live? Who could use a raid? I mean, that's me. I should be doing midterms right now, but I'm not. Oh, I wanna raid Beck. Beck is so close to 300 followers. I love him so much. He is a trans Apex gamer. Love him so much. I know you graduated high school, but when you were last in here, you were talking about college and being in college. So we got the logs. But yeah, let's go raid Beck. He's playing Naraka. Please send him all my love. Follow him. He's 4 followers away from 300 followers. So please send him all my love, and I will be back soon. Just keep an eye on the Discord, and I'll let you know. But I will see you when I see you. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.